There is no truth until you decide what truth is. Each person should find that truth out for his or herself.
This enchanted lullaby. This enchanted lullaby.
There is no truth until you decide what truth is, and each person should find that truth out for his or herself.
This enchanted lullaby. This enchanted lullaby.
Know what? Global family, look in the mirror. I want you to take a good look. You are the champion, the hero of your story. No matter how much praise you may give some of us who may help you on this journey, it is you who has to walk it. We are only a catalyst to help you see.
Tony, again, I give you accolades for, I don't even know what to say, for all the efforts, man, that you put in my behalf.
There is no truth until you decide what truth is.
It is you who has to walk it. We are only a catalyst to help you see.
Person should find that truth out for his or herself.
To help you see.
For his or herself.
This enchanted lullaby.
All right. Okay, greetings everyone. Greetings. This is Metaphysics Speaks. Well, actually, no, sorry, I'm so used to saying that. But no, this is Manifestation Wednesdays, everyone. So I hope all of you are doing well within your space and time. I mentioned time. There is only 1,440 minutes in a day, no matter what your belief system is or who you may pray to. You are not going to get even 1 minute more added to your life. So use your time wisely. Of course, you already know what I'm going to say here. I hope you have your favorite beverage of choice. My beverage tonight, get ready for it. What do you think it is? What do you think my beverage is tonight? Okay, so anyways, you thought it was some Rubik's tea. No, tonight, since there's a lot of talking, I actually got some chamomile tea.
Got him! Got him!
So, yeah, so I got some chamomile tea tonight, and so that's what I'll be drinking. I hope you do have your favorite beverage of choice, no matter what it may be, so we can have our conversation. We have quite a few guests who will be with us, and also tonight's going to be slightly different. I'm moving around a bit. Just bear with me here. I'm just getting everything a little bit more situated here. But tonight is going to be slightly different only because I will be adding some commentary into some of our conversation that's going to be dealing with manifestation and the art thereof. So that will be throughout our show as well. So, coupon code tonight is yin yang, okay? And you will see why that's the coupon code a little bit later in the show. So the coupon code tonight is yin, Y-I-N, yang, Y-I-Y-A-N-G, so Y-I-N, Y-A-N-G. It will give 11% off plus free shipping on any size order. Coupon code will end on Sunday, so you can use it between now and Sunday. Also, so just for you all are aware, right now there's a message coming from Agartha to the Meta Center, right? And it's going to be concerning the next event. So it's being manifested right now. And this event is going to be really interesting. Okay, it's going to be about even some of our travels and experiments and things that you have even bear witness to but didn't know it came from us, and many other just phenomenal things around us. It's going to be a little superhuman-like, just because there's going to be some information in there. We're going to be doing experiments and so forth. Also, we're going to get into many of the public even projects, like the of course, Project Etheric, which is currently going on now. But the big reveal will be concerning this astrology aspect of it all, that many will travel across space and time to even just see that in itself, because it will give full-blown clarity. Typically, as many of you know, we give 3 to 6 months notice before an event happens. So I'm not going to rush it. It's going to happen when it's going to happen. So, and I'm not going to do it right in the middle of winter in the north, because especially from you all from the west or from the south coming to the north, and January, December-ish, depending upon how the weather can be, Chicago could be pretty not the place to be. I'll just put it like that. Okay, weather-wise. So you all will know. Stay tuned to that. It will be announced sometime in the near future. So also this week, late this week, the website typically is going to happen in the evening hours. So usually maybe around 11, 12, 1 o'clock. We're doing some upgrades to the website to give you all even a more pleasurable experience. Also, we're upgrading the school aspect of the website, because we're going to be adding much more material to that, especially dealing with right now the herbology class is that, but we're still working through some kinks, but it is up there. And we're going to be putting up there some pretty much metaphysical training, and it'll be more school-like to take people up certain levels. Okay, so some of you have been asking for that for years, and we've been meditating on it in the background. So that's just that. So we're going to be doing some upgrades this week. So if you go to the website and you see that it says down for maintenance, don't get worried. Everything's fine. We're just doing some upgrades and things. And it's best to do it when the site is totally locked down and no one is on the website itself. So that's that. Of course, what will end up happening tonight, of course, we have some guests. Let's see if they're all on here. Yeah, at least 3 of them. Other 5 are on right now. So ideally, we have 5 guests. And depending upon how long it goes, it may be enough time maybe to open the lines that some of you can even call in if you wanted to, and so forth. But if not, you can easily just put forth your request to be on the show directly. So let's see here. I know you all hear me clicking around. So it's good to see everyone present here. Greetings, peace, shalom, and to all of you out there. So, okay. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. So, our first guest tonight. Let me pull up the meeting area here, so give me one moment. Okay. Okay, just bear with me, everyone. I'm waiting for I want everything to load up properly here before we just jump into it. Okay, let's see here. It's almost finished. Everyone has a few more seconds to load up. All right, so in the chat room, let's see here. Do we have Kenya on? Yeah. Okay. So the first caller will end up being Linux. Okay, the first caller will be Linux. So Linux, get ready. I will have you unmute yourself in one moment here. All right. Okay, so okay, so we're just gonna get straight into it here. Linux, can you unmute your phone for me?
Yo, you can hear me?
I can hear you.
What
So,
up, what up?
how you doing, Linux?
I'm
So,
doing all right.
excellent, excellent. So let me pull up your profile here. So, so the audience knows, just for clarity's sake here, what state are you calling from?
Currently I'm in Georgia.
Okay, so we have a brave soul from Georgia, everyone, who is with us tonight. So, all right, just bear with me one moment here. So, before we begin, just as every other Manifestation Wednesdays thus far, this is going to be a common saying here, right? It begins with Genesis. Okay, this is the Bible, Genesis. Okay, in the beginning, in this space that we all reside, there was an entity. For simplicity, let's call this entity God. This God created the heaven and the earth. And through this process, this God stated a few things. One of them was, let there be light, in the outcome of which there was light. The word. Spoken words are a melody of vibration, a clashing of frequencies when spoke bring about certain changes. These changes can be as major as creating a world or as minor as ordering your meal in the drive-thru at your favorite restaurant. Words, though, are made up of letters. These letters have a meaning and a sound. Yes, each letter, A, B, C, D, okay, in other alphabets as well, each letter actually has a meaning to itself, along with a sound. When you combine together these letters that each individually have a meaning and a sound, you create a word. When you string together words, you have a sentence. When multiple sentences are flowing between two or more people, this is called a conversation. As we begin our conversation tonight, as it springs together because of a word. So, what brings you here tonight, Linux?
All right. Well, really, I'm just trying to get an unbiased opinion. So, uh, well, I mean, I'm a loner most of the time. I don't really talk to people a lot. So, um, basically, I want to see what you think because you got some knowledge uh, that I've also acquired as well. So, basically, what I want to, I guess, try to understand or maybe get some insight from another is that um, for myself, I feel and I've observed from myself that I've, I'm a like a total paradox of my being, and just as much as I want to do something, it's just as much as I want to do the opposite. And even it can go from specifics even to just general things. It, that's just how I am, and trying to grasp. I'm trying to grasp that, but for some reason, it's like just because of the society that we live in, uh, how how quote unquote we're supposed to be, to where how I am. Uh, I just want to get some insight on that. Uh, what what do you think when you hear someone say that they feel and have observed this for years that they're like a total paradox of their being?
Give me an example of something that you have sought out to do or that you wish to do that an internal contradiction takes place.
Um, like, okay, I can give a prime example, like, studying, for an example. Like, just as much as I want to study and learn more to the point where, like, just binging on research and uh, learning, physics and chemistry and mathematics, to where like I could be going the total opposite. And I also want to be like, go out, have fun, party, stuff like that. But then from there, I'm like, okay, now I want to go back doing this again.
Let me ask you a question. Is your father around?
No,
Okay, it makes sense. And some of you like what? Of course, that's totally out of left field. Wouldn't expected me to ask you that, right?
not
So
really.
yeah. So the thing about it is that we see, uh, we all observe and we see, at least even at your level, at my level, we all see the things that are going on around us, right?
Correct.
And the paradoxical, what you call, pretty much is going back and forth, not being able to focus as much as you would have liked on one subject. This typically when a father's around, especially generational fathers, so like the great grandfather, grandfather, father, and then of course you the son. Typically when that happens, fathers bring law and discipline. That's what they bring into the family environment. Okay, they bring a discipline, and I'm talking about men here and fathers here, not boys, and not any excuses that people use to describe a person with male anatomy. And so when boys are growing up and when they have a father around, if the father is a father, is a man, typically men, in whatever way that they are industrious, okay, in whatever way that they may be, okay, even if they're an artist, to a CEO, to a tradesman like an electrician or a welder, etc. They tend to be a very specific way across the board, across ethnicities and everything, because it's a common theme how men are. Again, I'm not talking about boys, okay, or boys or men who don't know where they're at and everything else are mixed up into more actual men who understand how they are, who they are, and so on and so forth. And so in just being in the presence of a man, order takes place. So for example, obviously you're talking to a man, right? And so in my environment, people know just naturally that nonsense is not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? But also on the flip end, when it comes to work, when it's time to work, it's time to work. And you just being there in that energy, okay, in that same energy, and you're observing this and you're picking up on this, you will naturally start to do the same thing, okay? So it starts way back from the time you were born. So now at this point in your life, let me ask you this. Have you, since that's a mute point at this point, what do you do in your spare time?
I study.
Study what?
Well, currently right now I'm studying a range of things. I'm learning C++ programming language. I'm sitting over here um uh, organizing all different types of computer science fields. I have to relearn algebra again. So I'm doing algebra 1 right now. I'm sitting over here. I dabble into a little bit of chemistry, so I can get the fundamentals of that, of physics, so I can get the fundamentals of that. That's
Pause.
pretty
Pause.
okay.
First you went from C++, which I do know C++ myself. Okay, and that's kind of a more of a difficult one to start off on, but nevertheless, then you jump to chemistry and you jump to physics. Or why are you jumping to those when you're trying to learn C++?
Hmm. Well, I'm pretty much like I feel like I was necessarily say my early years, I haven't delved deep to acquire the knowledge I felt like I should have received, or that I should have took it upon myself to learn. So now that now that I've grown up more, uh observed more things about myself, um like I'm trying to get into
Everything
uh exactly, because
in which you
beforehand
in which you
I
can't
was
do.
studying like I was binging research on a lot of spiritual things, a lot of religions, occultism, stuff like that. And now I'm like I'm at a point where, I'm literally like unable to be independent financially, uh and well, yeah, financially mostly. And I felt like I should have been learning this stuff in order to uh have something steady.
Okay, so all right, so really your question really just deals with the fundamental of this living and
Exactly.
and prospering. Okay, so
Exactly.
number one, you're stretching yourself thin. See, one thing is if you're just trying to learn a basic subject, but if you're trying to learn heavy subjects, majority of people, especially in these times with the stress levels, with the purpose degradation of the mental state of most people that is happening purposely, okay, uh, a lot of people cannot study multiple heavy subjects at the same time. Okay, so it's like you're majoring. Let's say, for example, you're trying to major in computer science at a university, also major in physics, also major in chemistry. I mean, one thing is there's not even a lot of people who even do dual majors. You're trying to do quadruple majors, so 4 majors at the same time. You know what I'm saying? And so you're setting yourself up to be frustrated.
Okay, I understand what
Uh,
you're saying about
So
that.
so you will want to, if you first for yourself, figure out what that end goal is for yourself. Now, I'm not talking about, oh, I want to have a big house. I'm not talking about that, okay? And it doesn't, just because you're learning a big subject does not mean you can't learn minor subjects in your spare time after you've done the work with the big subject, okay? So decide where you want to go, let's say career-wise, right? Now, everybody, I'm going to tell you something, for the people who are listening here, right? Everybody and their mama is trying to get into some type of computer or computer related field, like, computer science and or related. Also the medical field and or related, okay? And so because of that, in time you're going to see wages go down, not up, all right? Because it's going to be an overabundance of just people, and you're talking from a person who's been in the computer industry for over 20 years, okay? So you would be surprised, especially if you want to get into something that will last a lifetime kind of thing, okay? And where you can build and make really good money while you're doing something else on the side, whatever that may be, whatever you choose. You may also want to look into the trades, okay? There's many different types of trades, you know what I'm saying? There's tons of them, all right? But some of the main ones that people think about are like electricians, plumbers, welders, stuff like that, okay? But if you Google trades in the U.S., you're going to get a big list of them, okay? And many of those trades, once you go through your apprentice program, you're making 80,000 plus. Okay, in a arena where you might not have a lot of competition for that job at all, so you could have a secure job for a long period of time. Right now in the computer field, when it comes to even like programming and things of that nature, many of these big companies, after they have crushed these big monopolies and such, after they have crushed the middle class and continue to do so as we speak, and so many middle class businesses we see closing up all over the place, these big conglomerates now are lowering their wages, and also they are bringing in those people from other countries. Okay, so in this country, let me give you an example. Let's say in this country, let's say if you actually learn C++, even though C++, I would say maybe another language like maybe Java or Python, okay? Doesn't mean they're easier per se, but they're easier than C++, okay? To learn, and those are also heavy languages that could get you really far, making really good money, to over 100K plus. Okay, so if you really want to program, look into, ideally, unless you've been doing C++ now for a while, if you just started, maybe look into Java and or Python specifically, okay? But with that, they're bringing in people from India and everywhere else, and that's purposeful. So for example, here in the U.S., let's say with your skill set, let's say if you actually knew C++ and you're a well-rounded C++ programmer, you should be getting paid 120K a year, right? But remember, you're a programmer. Programming can actually be done from anywhere, okay? So the person in India who also knows programming, at least somewhat, because the dollar ratio between the ruble, let's say, and the United States dollar is so much of a big gap that he's happy to get paid $30,000. And he's living like he's rich over there with $30,000, even though here you would get paid $120,000. Which one is these companies going to choose? Now, this is all by design, but which one are they going to choose? They're going to choose the $30,000 one who knows the same thing that you know versus you all day long. So this is what's also happening here in the U.S., where the competition is becoming just extremely fierce. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't learn things on your own. It doesn't mean that you won't be prosperous. I'm not saying you wouldn't, but the competition is fierce, and unless you're willing to put up that type of fight for something that may not be the best pay, then there's other avenues that can pay much more. But regardless of which avenue that you choose, you need to focus on one subject, at least at first, to get yourself up to par in one subject, and then start to branch out maybe in more than one subject if you feel up to it. But so when you instead of studying one subject 1 hour, then another major subject another hour, all day long, you're just switching up like that. Study one subject the entire day, and then once you're done with that, you go into your relaxed time to recoup, whether it be whatever you do to recoup, play video games, whatever it may be. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, and you'll get much more done and much more progress will go forth if you do it that way. And then, but again, it doesn't mean like it was one, for example, let me give you another example here for this, especially for the audience and those young people who may be listening down the road. There was a guy that I knew that he was, let's just say broke, okay? He didn't have any funds at all, anything like that. And he kept complaining that he needed work and he needed to get a job, right? And he kept complaining about this all the time. I said, but I'm like, hey man, that fast food restaurant down the street is hiring right now. That's a job. And then he immediately said no, and went into this whole rant about how that's not what he wants and everything else. But yet he complains that he's broke. Do you understand what I'm saying? And even though I said to him, bro, it's not like you'll be there forever. If you have a plan where, you know, so if you go in there with a plan already set up where, okay, I'm going to work this job, I'm going to save every penny that I have, and within 6 months to a year, depending upon how much I save, I'm going to jump on to my next step of my path. Do you understand what I'm saying? But for now, I need to do something to get the ball going to bring income in, even though I feel that this may be beneath me. See, that's the difference between men and boys. Okay? A man understands that he has to do what he has to do. Okay? And at times, what he does may not be what he wants to do. Or it may be those, you know, it just may be tiring. He may have to wake up early. Just do things that he may not want to do. He understands that he just has to do it anyway. Okay? But the whole point is you want to be a wise man, which you have a plan. Okay? So if you want to learn C++ or any other programming language, okay, what's the plan? If you don't know really, then good. I'm glad that the show like this can come about where you can ask a question or so, right? So where certain things can be bounced off of to kind of give you an idea of what a plan even should be, so that you can move on past that point. All right. So for now, at least until the next time we speak, I want you to focus. Focus on yeah. There are many subjects we should know. There are many things that that in a world that was right side up, okay, many subjects and many curiosities you would have known since you were a child. But for now, you can't do a whole lot about that, except you are to understand, as you do, that has taken place, and just move on step by step. All right? Step by step. So for now, figure out, really take the time, figure out what you want to do, whatever that may want to do, and then start the steps to do that. Okay? Because remember,
we're on the same page.
Yeah. Okay.
I just had to hear what you had to say, but yeah, we're definitely on the same page. All right.
Most certainly, it's no coincidence that we're speaking. All right. So there's only 1,440 minutes in a day, right?
Exactly.
Okay. And so no matter no matter what your belief system is or who you may pray to, you're not going to get even 1 minute more added to your life. So you want to use your time wisely. So you want to make sure, young man, that you do not waste any time. You have no time to waste. All right, so I want you to, in the next 24 hours, I want you to figure out what it is you want to do. You know what I'm saying? From that point, once you figure out what you want to do, go for it. You understand what I'm saying? And then if another question comes up or anything like that, of course, this is a free show, so don't cost you anything. Just put in your request again, and we can have another conversation about that next step that you may be thinking about as you're already on that step. Okay?
Appreciate you, man.
Likewise. Take care.
You too, man.
All right, so that was Lennox, and so I hope that some of you who are listening currently, I hope you may, especially if it's a young one who may could potentially benefit from that. Remember, the call tonight does not have to be about, I'm trying to manifest a bunch of money or something like that. You know what I'm saying? That's very basic, actually. It could be about your It could be about health, wellness. It could be about, again, the question the young man asks about, he felt that he is a walking paradox when really it's just really he needs to focus, okay? And so it could be about the world, what's taking place around us, and you want specific things concerning your situation, okay, how to maneuver. It could be about many, many different subjects now. So that is up to you. And so let me pour myself another cup. All right, so the next caller for tonight, let me bring up my screen here. All right. Okay, so all right. So the next caller we have here is Doris. All right, Doris, unmute your phone there.
Hello.
Hi, how you doing, Doris?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. So, for the audience sake here, what state are you calling from?
Virginia.
Okay. So everyone, we have a new soul here, a brave soul who wants to have a conversation, who is from Virginia. And so what brings you here today?
I made a purchase on your store's website or your website, and I saw the form to be a guest, and I just decided to fill it out. But there are no accidents, so I'm assuming I'm here for a reason. I don't have anything in particular to discuss, so whatever information you can impart would be helpful to me.
Well, that's interesting. Now this is for your information, plus people who are listening in the audience. Ideally, the show is made for some type of concern that you may have. Okay, again, it could go across pretty much the majority of subjects that people could ask about anything. All right, health, wellness, family, life, the world, religion. It could be about anything. Okay, so because this is a conversation, so what I'm going to do is then, Doris, I'm going to put you on hold for now, and I want you to just think of anything, okay? It could be about, any type of curiosity, even with the world around us. Are you apprehensive about anything that you see on TV? Are you curious about anything that they're talking about, even concerning health and stuff like that, what we all see every day? Or it could go even to just your own even happiness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you on mute for now. I'm going to go to the next caller, but then I'm going to come back to you. All right, so you
Okay.
can, okay. But I do thank you for even just wanting to just be there. So thank you very much. All right, so the next caller here. So we're supposed to have 5 callers tonight. So far, only 3 of them are on the line. So let's see here. So Tori, you are next. Okay, Tori, you are next. So Kenya, Donald, and Donald, if you are in the audience, if you're listening, call in to the number that we had emailed. So the next one here is Tori. So Tori, if you can unmute your phone.
Okay. Hello.
Greetings, Tori.
Greetings. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. So for the audience's clarity here, and so what state are you calling from, Tori?
Georgia.
Okay, well, thank you for crossing space and time from Georgia to have this conversation. So what brings you here today?
Okay, so I first want to say that my favorite drink is root beer. I don't drink it a lot, obviously, but I like that it's kind of hearty and sweet and gives you like a inner child vibe. Um, But the reason I came on the show today was to discuss my business. So my business is called Travels by T. It's an LLC, and it incorporates international real estate, health and wellness, and spirituality. And I keep getting stuck on kind of what direction I should take first. What should be my first? Yeah, what should be my first step? So hopefully you can shed some insight on that.
Okay, so first, it's quite interesting with the name Tori. There's someone who's part of the Meta Center members, whatever, whose name is Tori, which is interesting. And coincidentally, I enjoy root beer as well. Okay, especially even root beer floats. Okay, so so we have that common theme going. So so you mentioned your business. You mentioned what you did, but the question is to you, what have you done so we can even see what some insight can be had?
So far, I'm working on acquiring some business credit, and so I've done that, and then I've tried some. I've tried to. I guess I did some trial and error with some parts of real estate, such as like wholesaling. It didn't really work out. I've been on a few webinars, for like Airbnb and corporate leasing, to get into the short-term rental field. And then that's kind of for the real estate side. And then for the health and wellness, I am currently working with my cousin who owns like a juicing company, and she wants to educate the community on the benefits of juicing. So I've partnered up with her to teach the component of incorporating herbs. And then right now I'm currently in a Birth of a Sage program. It's like a fast-paced spiritual program to kind of help you enhance your psychic abilities in a way. So those are kind of the things I'm working on / have done.
Okay, but what is the purpose? I mean, are you trying to open up a store? Are you trying to just start a website? I mean, what are you trying to do? I mean, all of what you're saying is cool. I mean, typically most people don't need business credit because they haven't even started anything that's even credit worthy business-wise, so it's not even needed. Short-term rentals and, of course, real estate and health and wellness are two entirely separate things. So let's focus. Let's focus it down. Which one is more important to you, short-term rentals or the health and wellness aspect?
Both are important. I think what's more of a priority right now is the real estate.
So the real estate is more a priority
right now, yeah.
Okay, so then there's really no. Okay, well, if that's more of a priority, then it's really no. It's like the last call we just had, right? Many of us need to focus more on to get. Basically, we have let me put it like this: we have a few things happening, and none of them is happening. You know what I'm saying? Let's say we got 5, 6 things on the plate, and none of them is at the point where we want them specifically to be, even though the next person over here may say, you're doing wonderful. But for us personally, it's not at the point where we know or we feel it should be at. Then that means that we need to focus more. We need to take some of those spinning plates off and and bring it down to, instead of 6 plates, maybe 4 plates. Instead of 4 plates, maybe 2 plates, or maybe just 1, at least for the time being, until it gets to the point where we want it to be at to launch to the next place. Now, of course, we're in an age that people do have multiple hustles and stuff like that. But you can't have multiple hustles and all of them are exactly just not doing what you necessarily want them to do. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
Now, with that, it becomes where, okay, so there's a term that's been going around social media called, it's been happening the last few years, called your network is your net worth, right? We've all probably heard that, at least on Instagram, something like that, at least something like that. Okay, so when it comes to especially real estate, we are in a time where the real estate market is very interesting. First off, you mentioned specifically short-term rentals. Okay, so right now is a time where, first off, more people are getting into health and wellness because of what's happening, what's going on. That's number one. So that's the other aspect of your business that you were wanting more focus on real estate. So with real estate, when it comes to a lot of Airbnb people, in short, are struggling right now because during the summer it was a boom, and it is a boom in certain markets because people have been cooped up in the house, right? And so even though many people may not have the funds to really go on vacations and do what they would have done if times were normal, they're doing it right now anyway, just because they don't know what's next, right? And so they want to kind of get out and do something. But that's just right now. What about 6 months from now and a year from now?
Right.
And so because people don't really have the funds that they used to have. You get what I'm saying? So now when it comes to holding real estate itself, in the real estate market, it's a seller's market right now. Okay?
Right.
But it's not a seller's market because really everybody wants to buy homes. No. It's a seller's market because people who are holding homes right now or holding this property in general, their property value is skyrocketing. Now, some think that's a really good thing. It's actually not a good thing. The reason why is because if you want to have an idea on the power of the U.S. dollar, is to look at current real estate prices. Okay, if a real estate home that really should only be $50,000 is $300,000, and you don't see people all around breaking down doors to live in this neighborhood, which may be, let's say, even a ghetto, but the pricing keep going higher and higher, that's not because of demand. It's not because it's actually a seller's market. What's happening is the devaluing of the U.S. dollar. Okay, it's called inflation. Okay, and so because the U.S. dollar goes weaker on one side, a very evident way to see how weak the dollar is how high the real estate prices go. So with that, is not really a seller's market, is that the U.S. dollar is becoming so weak that the real estate prices are going so high that it seems like things are just booming, but it's really not. Now, also what's happening in the seller side, where there are big conglomerates who are buying up. I'm talking about these are big multinational trillion-dollar type revenue stream real estate holding and investment holding companies. They're buying up all the property because in the future, as the guy from the not World Health, but the UN, okay, said that you will own nothing and be happy. Okay, I'm actually going to share my screen here in a moment so you all can see. And this is coming back to your point, Tori, okay, to come back to your main question that you had asked. So I'm about to share my screen, everyone, so you can see something. One moment here. All right. Actually, I'm just going to share. I'm just going to put this in the, I'm not going to share my screen. I'm just going to put this so you all can see it directly. All right, so I'm about to share this here, so now you all will see who are on YouTube. All right, so this is the guy here that says you'll own nothing and be happy. Okay, so if you put in the quote, so you all will see that now on your screen. If you put in the quote on Google, you will get his face and you can see the actual speech he made and everything else. And pretty much everything that is around you are rent. Okay, people don't, right now in the U.S., especially in many other Western countries, is glorify ownership, where if you pay taxes on it, that means you really don't own it because it can be taken away at any moment if you don't pay the taxes. So, so that goes to right now what's happening in the U.S. Big conglomerates are buying up pretty much most of the properties where you would, let's say if a property is 100K and you bid on that 100K, typically let's say it's in a semi-popular area. Let's say it's 2 to 3 other buyers who are interested in that property. It may go from 100K maybe to 110, 115, maybe even 120. Okay, but it's not going to go to 250K. It's not going to go to 350K. Okay, because if a person's looking at a 100K property and this is the the common person, they don't have obviously money to want to pay 250 for it. Otherwise, they would have done it. So they'll buy a house that's worth that. So with that, these big conglomerates are paying sometimes 2 to 3 times more than what the property is worth just to take the property and make it into a rental for the area. So especially in Texas and other areas, they're buying up whole blocks, even whole subdivisions of homes, okay, just to then rent them out to those people who would have been first-time or potential home buyers. Now they're forced to be renters to these big conglomerate companies. Okay, so this is what's happening on a bigger scale all across the U.S. and other parts of the world as well. So with that, when it comes to the world around us, now listen. Right now, I'm about to now swing back around, back to your original comment. Okay, you have a business. You have a few different directions it can go. I would take a step back and see exactly what you want to do and how you're going to do it. Because I just named real estate, many people are into health and wellness. This is a good time, especially over the last 2 years, to really get into health and wellness, because people obviously all over the place are seeking alternatives to the chaos that is happening. Okay, so that in some cases will end up being a business that could at least bring in revenue, that can allow you to at least the freedom to think of what your next step would be. When it comes to, you got that, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not to deter from real estate. I know some people in real estate and everything else, and some of them are doing okay, some of them not, just depending on everything else. But just to show a larger picture of what is taking place around us. So,
well, that's why I was going to do the corporate leasing, where you don't have to buy the property, you rent it for a year, and then you put on. But I get your point about the Airbnb kind of the market going down.
The reason why I went that route, because I didn't want you to say your whole thing there, because I don't want you to give. It's not that. You'd be surprised the amount of people that listen to this show. Okay, so I wanted to give you enough without you going too deep into it, like giving your whole business plan out, because others will just try to copy it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was trying to, do that there. So, and for future reference to everyone there, I do that. So I may go around what you're saying, just so it doesn't go deep into, because this is a public show. It's not like we're having a private conversation where you could really, really get into particulars about what you're doing. You understand what I'm saying? And we could get into that. So, but yeah, so the main thing, what I would say, right now, everyone is looking for something or many people are looking for something that could be more sustainable than the hustle and bustle and just the craziness that is happening in other arenas to bring in revenue. You understand what I'm saying? And so that's totally understandable in every regard, but I would just say, even though many of us may have multiple hustles and doing multiple things, just focus and make sure you put in your homework to make sure before you start investing a bunch of money that it really is sustainable in the long term. Or when I say long term, I'm not talking about 10 years from now. I'm even talking about a year from now. That it is something that can actually grow and sustain you. To anyone who's listening, including you, Tori, in these times specifically, the best advice I could give to any of you all who are on that path is, this is not the time for fantasy type of employments or careers and stuff like that. That's just like, it has, where you maybe should do this over here, but it's in your head and you fantasize about it, so that's what you do. It doesn't mean that this is not about dreams or anything like that. What I would say just as first is just to focus on something that you know for a fact will sustain you, and you can grow from there and have something to fall back on. These are the times for that more than anything else. Okay, because there's just some things down the road that I'm not going to really talk about, that people want things more sustainable for the long term than maybe other avenues of thought. So with that, depending upon how, because your question, I'm trying to avoid you getting too personal, right? You may have to end up contacting personally just because of that. But nevertheless, if you're able to even phrase it or have another question that you could phrase more openly, then maybe toward the end of the show, because right now not all the people are on, so it looks like we may have a time for callers to may potentially ask another question. So depending upon how long you're on the show, that may end up happening, and then maybe another question could be asked in that regard. But just don't make it as personal.
Okay. Am I able to ask a separate question that's unrelated?
Not right now. What's
No,
gonna
I mean like towards the end.
Yeah, you can ask whatever you want to ask.
Oh, okay.
So what's going to happen now? Because not two callers did not come on tonight, well, at least at this point. So what I'm about to do, I'm about to get into some other aspects of manifestation, and then once I get through my whole monologue, then I'm going to ask not only you all here again, Doris and Tori, but I'm going to be also ask the audience if there's any questions they have, and then we can get into more of an open question before we end the show. So if there's anything else you're thinking about, think about it, and then I'm going to come back to you in a moment, momentarily.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you for chiming in. All right. So Doris, I'm coming back to you, Doris. Have you thought of any question that you have currently?
I have thought about it, yes. I guess
Doris, I think you hit the mute button. We can't hear you, Doris. We were hearing you, but then it just went out. Okay, go ahead.
okay. I'm currently working from home, so I'm having trouble prioritizing my tasks and staying on point and staying focused and getting things done in a timely manner.
Why?
My personality is kind of all over the place.
Yeah, you are
I'm
a
interested
air
in a
sign.
lot of different things and like, follow the shiny ball kind of thing.
Yeah, you're an Aquarius. Aquariuses tend to do that and be like that. They tend to, first off, they tend to be in their heads a lot, and they tend to think of, let's say, things even in another existence. Okay, different plane of existences, and those between the different planes of existences, dealing with everything and then some. Right, so that is a common theme, and pretty much the imagination. They have an imagination, okay, that can go all over the place, right? So, so what I'm going to, do you use like task managers or anything like that?
I do, but it's still a struggle.
It may be. So for the audience as well, and this is what I would say people overall, we've come in, they're trying to make everything inclusive, right? Inclusive, trying to make everything and everyone seem like they are the same. We are all not the same, okay? We all have different strengths and weaknesses, right? And so based on your makeup is one where you're more aloof, okay? Aloof. It's not a bad thing, but that is your makeup. So, and you're not only admitting that, you're confirming that. So for you being more on task, right, just may be a bit more work than, let's say, a person like myself, whose makeup is one who's always on task, at least most of the time anyway. You understand what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
So, and there's nothing wrong with that. We all have our strengths, and we have those things that may not be as strong that we may need to work on. So if you already have task managers, you have appointment, now I'm talking about on your phone. Do you have on your phone, or you write this stuff down?
Both.
Okay, so you have task managers on your phone and you write down. You have event calendars on your phone and you write down. You get pings and bells and notifications go off of all sorts to let you know that this is happening and that is happening, everything else. Then you're doing what you're supposed to do. Okay? Now, let me ask you this. You say you work from home. Is this something that you do all to yourself, or do you have a mate to help you?
By myself.
By yourself, okay. And does this work at home by yourself employment, does it pay your bills handsomely, or is something where it does enough?
For right now, this is something new for me. I'm actually on vacation from another job, and I'm trying to replace that job with this one. So I've given myself 3 months to kind of see if, this is going to be viable enough to sustain my my lifestyle.
Gotcha. So, because this is a public show, I just have to phrase things a little bit differently than what I would just come out and just say. So, okay, let me say it like this. The avenues that, see, the response that I'm giving you will be a little bit different response that I would give a man who, let's say, will have the exact same situation going on. Okay? And the reason for that is because men and women are biologically different. We're wired differently. And many of the things that in these times that men and women do that are more, let's say, more men-centric, they're more of a men-centric activity, those types of activities in the long run tend to burn out women. Okay, just for any women listening, just a FYI. Okay, a lot of women, there's different types of stress. Okay, there's the shoulder and mind stress, and then there's the emotional and hip stress. And this is just this is just to make it simple. Okay, the shoulders and mind stress are typically men-oriented things. Okay, very logical based, very just men-oriented things in life. Now, it does not mean that men can't do women things well, women can't do men things well, but there is a difference between the genders, and this is just a generalization of this. Okay, and so for example, women, you all bear children, for example, right? And you all have the innate ability to not only bear children, because you could do that naturally, but also be able to nourish emotionally those children in mass. Okay? Even though it may stress you out at times, men, it stresses us out to a level that is 1,000 times beyond you all. Even just at times, because we're so focused. I'm talking about men and women, not, let's say, boy men or girl women, so I'm talking about grown folks here, right? Who are doing it. And so for men are typically all across the board, no matter what ethnicity they are, they tend to be very focused minded. And at times, especially men, we like to have quietness, okay? Because in our where you all give birth physically and create physically these physical forms, we do that in our minds. Okay, and it's not about imagination, it's about our creation ability to, for example, create the world that's even around us right now. Okay, everything around us, men has built. 99% around us, men have built. Okay, whether it be homes, computers, all that. Okay, it's because that's in our minds, and that's what we really enjoy to do. And so, but being, let's say, a bunch of children running around and they're doing their children things, nothing wrong with that, but that could literally break our minds. All right, and where a woman would say, "What? It's not that serious. Just spend time." Let's say, you understand what I'm saying? Well, me going deep into that. Now, on the other end on the spectrum, women doing men's things. Right? There's a few medical doctors that I know who are women, and they went through all that schooling. They went through that brain-numbing work. Okay, and that's even for a man, it would be brain-numbing as well. Okay, all those hours, that multi-hour MCAT exam they had to take, and they got into the medical field, and to know that in many cases they still have to learn a lot. They still have to, the learning it wasn't any relaxed time. I put it like that. A few of them end up just dropping out the medical after they already became medical doctors in the whole 9 yards, making really, really good money. It pretty much started to cause them so much stress. They started to lose their hair, and or the hair started to turn gray. One went semi-schizophrenic, okay, because the mind was breaking. It was too much stress on the mind. So that's more, let's say, shoulder or mind-based stress, okay, that men are more so built to handle. So with that, in these times, because what happened in the when women entered the workforce years ago, decades ago, even though women were in the workforce, but when they entered in mass into the workforce, and then what happened up until this point of everybody doing everything, which lowered the wages and everything else, with that, in lowering the wages, they gave us much more work. And much more work, and that's the reason why I mentioned about the mate, is because the type of work that all of us are pretty much doing is not really meant for one person to handle the way that we're doing it, because it causes too much stress on the mind, which breaks the mind and causes problems later on in life. So with that, going back to your original point, Doris, of staying on task, we all have strengths and weaknesses. It's just that that's something that you just may need to just work on and always work on. But as long as you keep all your gadgets handy to remind you notification wise of your upcoming appointments and events and everything else, that's literally the best that you can do. Okay, especially if you're task oriented, which it seems that you are. If you even have the ability to say, I broke this one job, I'm taking a hiatus so I can build my own thing in 3 months to try to replace my income so I can work it from home myself. Okay, so a lot of people don't have that type of forethought and the ability to even take that through. So you're doing a fantastic job in that. There are certain supplements that may be able to just help a bit with focus. Okay, one supplement that people take a lot, mileage may vary, is Bacopa. Okay, just make sure that you get Bacopa from we don't sell Bacopa ourselves because it has a tendency to draw up arsenic and or lead from the environments it grows in. So you want to just make sure that you get Bacopa from a trusted source. Bacopa tends to help memory. When it comes to focus, in the long term, ginkgo biloba could potentially help that. Okay, we also have on the website specifically, we have ginkgo biloba on the website, but we also have on the website monatomic gold powder or capsules. That could potentially, everybody reacts a little bit different to it. So for you, it may help with the focus, which some people it does, but for some people it helps more with their imagination. Okay, so you end up taking that and your imagination will never go through the roof. So I'm not sure how you would be with that, but again, mileage may vary, but that is another product that people do purchase for memory. I mean, not for memory, but for focus specifically. Okay, and so maybe just a little bit more focus. Not saying that you're not focused, but that little bit of extra focus may actually give you that edge that you're looking for.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to ask the question. So again, if you can stay on the show, Doris, if you choose to, because you two are only on here now, we're going to end up more than likely swinging back around to see if there's any more questions or comments anybody wants to make. So, all right, and I thank you for chiming in. So let's give them a hand clap for now. All right, so with this, as we know here, this is a public show, and so as I was pretty much explaining things, I have to kind of either hold back a little bit or rephrase things as I'm going. Okay, that's because there's certain things that I would say privately in a private consultation that I just can't say publicly here. All right, so and also in these questions that the person asked, depending upon what their question or comment is, I also like to add more information so that even the broader audience who will listen to this even later down the road, they can get some pertinent insight that can help many here in the future. So for now, let's talk about something. So let me bring up my note here. So we're going to have a conversation here a little bit about aspects of manifestation. So first here, let's talk about, okay, for those who are listening who are in the chat room, as I'm going along here, since not all the callers came on, we are going to get to a point where comments and questions could be asked. So if you have any comments or questions you would like to make, you are welcome to type them out in the chat room. And as I'm going along here, I will get into some of those if that's the case. So if you have any comments or questions, again, you could type them out in the chat room if you choose to. Also, what I'm going to do, I'm going to post the Zoom link. Okay, the Zoom link will allow you to call in if you choose to. Now, if you want it to be more personalized, then I would say do not. I'm reading some of the comments here as I'm talking. But if you want it more personalized, then I would suggest going to the Manifestation Wednesdays page and submitting your information and just wait to be on the show. If you submitted your information in the past, we do have it. But again, over 100+ people did submit their information. Now just call one by one. If they pick up, they could be on the show. If not, go to the next person until I swing back around. Okay, so if you did submit your information, eventually we're going to get to you. Just make sure you pick up the phone when we call you. But if you want to ask more so a not so personalized question, or you have a comment, whatever, I'm about to post in the chat room the coordinates to connect today. All right, so, and you can call in, just make sure here, it's going to be a link here that you can click on to go to it, as well as a phone number. Okay, so I'm posting it in the chat room now. All right. I'm going to put that out again a little differently, kind of bunched up together. And so in a moment here, we're going to talk about loosh. And so when you're like, loosh? What is loosh? Well, you will know here in a moment. All right. And how it deals with manifesting and how it can interfere with your manifestations. All right, so I just posted the phone number as well. All right, so let's continue on here. Okay, so all right, so first I'm about to post a symbol here, and many of you have seen this symbol before. If you've seen this symbol before, let me know in the chat room. Let me know what this symbol is. Many of you should know what this is, so let me know what this symbol is when you see it in the chat room. All right. So, what people in the chat room said, the symbol. What is this symbol, everyone? What is this symbol? What is this symbol? It's on YouTube. Okay, the symbol is on YouTube. you should see a symbol on YouTube. For those who are in the chat room only, no, you wouldn't see it. But who are in the Zoom chat, you wouldn't see it. But it is on YouTube. I'm about to say it here in a moment. I'm trying to wait for someone to answer on YouTube. What symbol is this? Alright, so the symbol that you're seeing so far, I'm not sure if the chat room. Okay, so someone finally said, okay, there you go. Alright, it's the yin yang symbol. Okay, the yin yang symbol. Alright, so this should have been a pretty easy one for most. And so the yin yang, what you see here is the white, right, with a little bit of black, and the black with a little bit of white. I'm going to generalize and simplify this, but in short, think of it like this, okay? Opposites, okay? White and black are opposites, right? As above, so below. Also, it goes even deeper. Let's say like in every being of light, there's a little bit of darkness. Now, again, these are philosophies. It does not mean it's true one way or another. Remember, philosophies and or belief systems, okay? But they do have some truth to it. So, in every being, let's say here is a being of light, there's a little bit of darkness. In a being of darkness, there is a little bit of light, okay? So let me go back here. So you see that symbol there, the yin and yang, okay? For Freemasonry, a similar symbol or symbolism would be the checkered floor, okay? The checkered floor, that many people have seen, that is also on the chessboard, all right? Now, what I call this symbol, yes, it is colloquially called yin and yang, the yin and yang symbol. But what I call it the Lush generator. Okay, that's L-O-O-S-H, the Lush generator. Okay, so let's say that one more time, Lush generator. Because if you see here, the symbol is like it's turning, right? And this turning of these opposites moving on each other, it creates an energy. Okay, and this energy some have called Lush. So let me change my screen here. So I'm going to go to Wikipedia here. I'm not going to share my screen. I'm going to read it directly. And what it says is that it is a term applied to energy produced by human beings and animals that other entities use to feed from. Okay? A term applied, again, to energy produced by human beings and animals that other entities use to feed from. It is also used to refer to the energy that is produced by suffering that entities feed. They kind of worded that weird. So it is the energy, pretty much the energy, the suffering. When an entity suffers, okay, in this plane, again, this is a belief system or a philosophical thought form. Doesn't mean it's necessarily true, but that's for you to decide. So supposedly there are entities that feed on the suffering of humans, okay? And this is the reason why you have symbols like the yin-yang symbol, which again I call the Lush generator, okay, have came about to kind of characterize the event that is actually taking place across all of humanity. So what I'm about to show you here, next I'm about to share my screen. And you're about to see something here. Obviously, you're going to see a snake, right? But what else do you see? So you see a snake, and there's something else there as well. So I'll wait till you all see this, okay? So just to keep it going here, what you see here on the screen, obviously you see is a snake. And the snake's tail there, it kind of looks like the back of a spider, Okay, that's actually the snake's tail. Okay, this is a spider-tailed horned viper. Okay, a spider-tailed horned viper. So I'm going to give you an example of what's going on around us. Again, this is dealing with the loose generator, and this is also will be tied back to manifestation and manifesting. The target prey, meaning that the entity or the object that this viper has his eyes on to eat, to consume, this spider-like tail, which again, to that entity that is looking to, so the victim, let's call it the victim, just for simplicity's sake. When it sees this, it doesn't see the spider at all. Now, it doesn't see the viper at all. We can see the viper because we are not the intended prey. Okay? We can see the viper, even though we can see that it is very well camouflaged. Okay? If you can walk past a rock and you might actually miss it. Okay? So, but we are not its intended prey or its intended victim. So yes, we can see it. But its intended victim or prey cannot see that it's even there in the first place. The only thing it would see is the spider tail. Okay? That's all it would see. So, just like there are supposed entities that are feeding on humanity and feeding on specifically the loosh that humanity generates through suffering, those entities, whether they call archons, dracons, whatever you want to call them, you would not be able to necessarily see them because you are the intended victim or prey. Do you understand? But of course, I'm not just here to traumatize you or to make you feel sad, because we're going to get into two potential solutions. I'm not going to get into all of them just because this is a public platform and the draconians will adjust. So, what happens is that, I'm about to change my screen here. So, these entities, so let's say, again, this is a metaphysical conversation, okay? This is a metaphysical and spiritual based conversation. So you have, let's say, these entities, we could call them archons or dracons, right? They feed on humanity's suffering, okay? But then below them, you have those who are infected with the pestilence. Okay, they are infected with a type of spirit. Okay, whether willfully, like the wretched willfully do and act in ways to purposely be infected by this energy, or unwillingly, where one has been infected by trauma and so on and so forth. People in the conflict people have is what creates the loosh. So as an example, let me give you some examples of loosh generating activities. You go to the town hall, you're saying there should not be a chemical plant here pouring megatons of toxic waste into the fresh water supply that we all use. Now, anyone, no matter what energetic level that you're at, whether you're energetic level of 0, meaning you just came here, okay, to experience, or you are an energetic level of 10, where you are about to ascend and be called like an ascended master, right? Most who in their right mind would say, yes, if you're drinking out of this water supply, you should not be putting toxic waste in it. I mean, that should be really simple to understand. But yet, what would happen is that at this meeting, you would have someone, whether someone directly comes to the podium to contradict what you're saying, or whether it be one of the people on the judging panel that are thinking the opposite of what you're saying, that they're purposely going to say the opposite of whatever you say. Poison should not be in the water. Well, it can be just at these levels, and they're going to fight you at every single point that you're going to make, even though the whole community, it benefits the entire community, even benefits themselves not to have poison going into the water supply. They're there to create loosh, to be the disagreeable spirit. Okay? Also, what happens is that, especially with the wretched, okay, the wretched, they know enough, okay, they know just enough so that they are somewhat aware. Of course, as many would say biblically, would have said they know not what they do, because they don't know the seriousness of what they're doing, manipulating people, and the punishment that will happen for them doing such. But these people who are somewhat aware, who are called the wretched, they tend to give out negative thought forms, okay? Negative thought forms, so that specifically their followers, I mean, we see this all across social media, that their followers will ingest those thought forms. And so even though the originator of the negative thought form, okay, the wretched, even though they may be living, let's say, a good life and everything else, right? Because they have followers buying from them. They have followers contributing to them and doing everything they say, so that because they have been ordained, let's say, by the arcano pestilence energy to be the originator of certain pestilence field thought forms. So what ends up happening is that they put out these thought forms to the community, and the community ingests those thought forms, and they become the loosh generator, because you're ingesting something, whether it be, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, or maybe even physically. But in the social media age, it would be more so mentally, which is intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. You're ingesting this thought form, you're ingesting this way of being that contradicts the way humans should actually be interacting, not only with each other, but with self. And because of this, those people go out causing conflict, not only within themselves, creating internal loosh. They become like a self-generating loosh factory, or they go out with these thought forms causing problems with others, creating loosh. So, for example, on YouTube, on these other social media sites, they tell you it's a gender war. They tell, let's say, for example, the women, men ain't shh, right? Men ain't shh, right? We hear this all the time, right? In turn, they embody this thought form. They embody it mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. They go out into the public with this thought form that men ain't shh, right? And in doing this, every man they come across, it's now creating a problem. It's creating conflict that would have never been there if they did not ingest that thought form. So it creates loosh. Okay? Creates more and more loosh. We going deep here. Okay? This may be. So let's continue on. So the thing about the wretched, okay? So going back to the wretched and them contaminating their followers. Now, the difference between here, right? The Meta Center doesn't have followers, right? Because we appeal to your intellectual state to say, hey, this is what we're doing. Hopefully you will patronize, because it's appealing to your intellectual being. It's not appealing to your fight, flee, feed, or fornicate. Dr. Blair called those the 4 F's, okay? Fight, flee, feed, or fornicate. And when typically the wretched, you know them by their works. They will always try to appeal to you in your, let's say, in your lower brain nature. We appeal to you in your higher brain. We say, hey, look, we're sending something out into space. Look at what we're doing. We hope that you will be a part of it so we can co-create. That is something that is appealing to your higher state of mind. But they appeal again to the 4 F's: fight, feed, flee, or fornicate. Fornicate is sexualization. Okay, it doesn't mean that you're just, for example, masturbating or just having sex. It could be like, for example, a person is exposing themselves on camera. They're being overly sexual. Okay, they have sexualized themselves to, let's say, sell products or whatever it may be. We see this all over the place, right? That's also in the fornication aspect. It's appealing to your sexuality. Okay, the fight doesn't mean necessarily directly going outside or in your house fighting someone. It could be utilized to create conflict, for example, between so-called black and so-called white people, right? We hate blacks, we hate whites, right? That's the fight. It appeals to a certain aspect of the nature, of the lower nature, okay, of the lower animal nature, okay? Fight, feed, flee, and fornicate, the 4 F's. Most definitely, many of you have heard this for years from the Grand Master, Dr. Dilbert Blair. So what makes the wretched, that's why in the times past, those types are always, and when the cycle repeats, those types are always sought out, okay, to be, to go back to essence, because they're subversive, okay, where they're not doing it necessarily themselves, but they're putting forth these negative, pestilence field, draconian thought forms, which end up contaminating people, and it's a more subversive act, okay? The Grand Master, Dr. Dilbert Blair, called this place a farm. Many of you have heard this on many of his lectures and classes going back years. He called it a farm, right? And again, the aspect of that is because it's a loose generating place. And again, it's showing the horn-tailed or spider-tailed viper. You're seeing that you can see that viper, even though you can even say maybe it's a little difficult to see, but you know that's a viper there, right? But because you're not the intended victim or prey. So those entities that try to feed on humanity and try to contaminate, you're not directly necessarily going to see them, because we are supposedly their intended victim or prey. There are 2 solutions to dealing with loose generators, or those infected with the pestilence, to create more loose, even with you. It's like, even, let me give you, before I give you to those 2 potential solutions, let's give even another example personally. Whether you're male or female, you are of a peaceful state, right? And you just want someone to live, let's say, life with in a peaceful state. Or you're going about an activity and you are in your being and you're truly in a peaceful state. Not peaceful one moment and not peaceful next moment, but you're truly every day, all day, you're in a peaceful state. At times, you'll have someone just come out the blue. Now, many of you who are awake and know this. You'll have someone come out the blue and literally out of left field, totally unexpected, totally not wanted, and will say or do something to try to take you out of your space. What's happening is that they're trying to create loosh. And from an entity such as yourself, who is working on the path, who may be a light being who is completely illuminated, even the most smallest amount of loosh is like an extreme delicacy. It's like going to a Michelin star, 5-star Michelin star restaurant, where one dinner will cost one person let's say $100. So you with a group of people, you spending a few grand on a meal, just with a couple or even 3 people, right? So we're talking about that type of delicacy. That's how much the loosh is worth from a light beam. So, two solutions for the broadcast. Two solutions of being on the path have to limit the amount of loosh that can be gathered from you from these draconian and arconian forces. One, you destroy the loosh generator's ability immediately. Okay, remember, this deals with even manifesting. You think energy, if everything is energy, and your manifestation could be looked at as a thought form, a very specific, powerful thought form. You think energetic entities don't know that you're trying to manifest? Okay? Just think about it. So, at times, especially many of you, when you put forth even certain goals in your life, especially if you're older, you put forth certain goals in your life and everything else, and many have even said, like, if you speak, I remember I tell you all not to speak your most private thoughts out at all. Keep them private to yourself. But with that, you have known when you put certain things out, all of a sudden here comes the conflict in some form or fashion to try to stop your manifestation. So, with that, first off, I'm going to put this as one. Keep quiet. Keep again, I haven't said this in a while. It's been probably over a year since the last time I mentioned this. Okay? Keep your most important manifestations in your mind. Okay? Especially if you're not talking about manifestations that you just think you want to do. I'm talking about manifestations that you're working on, that are powerful. You know for a fact they're powerful. You feel it in your spirit, and you're actually working the manifestation. Do not mention this to anyone until it's ready to be revealed. That's when you mention it. Okay? That's number one. Number two, when it comes to the loose generators, whether they be directly the wretched, or whether they be agents of the archons, dracons, or the wretched, okay, the wretched subversive nature, you want to destroy their ability to generate loose immediately, okay, in some form or fashion. I'm not going to get into all the details because, again, this is a public forum, and certain kung fu has to be experienced. It cannot be just said in that way. So with that, you want to destroy their ability immediately because you know they're there to literally just generate loose. You know this. That's the whole point of them giving you conflict. But the most important thing is number three. Do not engage at all. Period. Do not engage at all. Okay? Period. Okay? One more time. You do not engage with them at all. Period. Even if they're saying all type of crazy stuff and everything else. Have you ever seen a person screaming at somebody and the person just sitting there and looking at them? Eventually, that person looks very stupid who keeps talking, who keeps yelling. Looks very stupid. Okay? So that's more powerful than anything else because you're not giving the loose generators nothing. You're not giving the wretched nothing. Okay? And that's really what they don't like. Now that takes practice, and it takes one to be deeply in meditation because the loose generators, they know specifically, because remember, it's not really them, it's the spirit that you're dealing with behind them. Okay? And that spirit does know how to agitate you. So it will try its best to agitate you in some form or fashion. The best thing that you can do is not engage with it at all. And then it ends up going back to its hellish domain. Let's just put it like that. Also, there is a quote. Let me bring it back up here. Let's see here. So there's a quote here, especially to those who okay. So if you are one of those types who, If you say there's a spirit world, then one has to acknowledge in one form that there are angels. And if you can acknowledge there's angels, then you have to recognize that there's demons and the whole plethora of the host of heavens. And so there's a biblical verse that's Hebrews 13:2, right? And what it says is that this is for those who entertain people, right? Who have gatherings where where multiple types of people may be there. It says, do not forget to entertain strangers, for by so doing some have unwittingly entertained angels. So in short, what that is saying that because many of us entertain people, right? And that's why I say you got to be very careful, because you have no idea who you may be speaking to. We used to mention this a few years ago in the podcast, and I stopped mentioning it. But that verse is dealing with angels, right? Dealing with the cream of the crop, okay? The cream de la cream, okay? Which let's say are angels who are next to, let's say, the heavenly host, right? You may be hosting something, an event, and so on and so forth, where multiple people may be there, and in this, you never know, it may be an angel there as well, right? So that pretty much in short, it deals with, what the verse really deals with is that you show hospitality to all, because you do not know if you're entertaining one of the heavenly hosts, right? But it goes even deeper than that, because there are levels between humanity. Let's say, again, this is a metaphysical conversation, okay? There is levels between humanity and then the hosts of the heavens, okay? And let's just call that, just for argument's sake, let's just call that entity God. So between humans and God, and I'm talking about on the positive side here, there are many different entities. There's the angels, okay, archangels and angels, right? Then there are those of the high court, the celestial court, okay? Then there are those of the major houses and minor houses, okay? So all of these entities hold certain, I don't want to say certain power, but certain aspects of judgment and certain aspects of watching those in humanity, right? And so you have no idea when you are being how you are in public. You have no idea when you are amongst a group of people here or there. You have no idea who you may be engaging with, okay? And especially some have not been the best hosts, and those thought forms and those activities and what took place, it goes up and is recorded with the scribes on Mount High. So the next subject here is fear. Fear is a major manifestation stopping ability or emotion, okay? Fear is a major manifesting or manifestation stopping emotion. And I'm not just talking about, let's say, your fear of the unknown. Even though it's the unknown, why are you fearing something that you don't even know? Let me tell you a story here real quick, which is off it deals with this, but it's a little bit off subject. For example, last week I went to a vortex. I'm not going to say what that vortex is. We're going to get into that at the event some months from now, or whenever that may be. But I went to a vortex, and this vortex, they just had around the surrounding area, it was just, things for travelers to do. And they actually had an old style haunted house, right? I said, okay, hey, well, I'm going to check it out. And it was dark in there, right? The characters and things that they had in there, remember, this is like a haunted house from like the 1920s or something, right? So they had like a lot of caricatures, and it was more hilarious than anything else. Let me put it like that, okay? And so and some of the stuff looked absolute. You had to see images of this stuff. Some of the stuff looked absolutely like a child, like a Play-Doh, like a child took some Play-Doh and kind of tried to make something. So it was hilarious. But nevertheless, it was dark, okay? Now, before I purchased my ticket to go into this haunted house, people were coming out screaming. And I was like, man, it's like that? Okay. And so going through it, it was completely dark in there. And going through the whole thing, like I said, again, it was more hilarious than anything else. But that's not the point here. The point is, even behind me, so I'm about halfway through, and some other people had came in, because I can't see them there, but you could hear everything that's happening in this haunted house. They started to scream immediately. And I started to think to myself, like, are these people in the same place I'm in? The reason why they were screaming, the reason why they were saying, this is so scary, it's not because anything there was scary at all. Because it was absolutely hilarious. If I showed you images of what was there, you would laugh. Like, that's supposed to be scary? What? And so more than anything else, it was just dark. Completely dark. And then you'll come across a window with this staged thing happening. Again, it's not even moving. This is a staged thing happening. Like you may see like a Play-Doh face thing, you know, with a knife in his hand. Again, very, very corny, right? But the reason why they were screaming is because of the fear that is in their subconscious. We have all heard of many people who say that they are afraid of the dark. We have heard many people in certain situations like I just named, where it's dark and because something might happen, supposedly, right? But nothing is happening, but something might happen, they're screaming and they're extremely fearful. But nothing's happening. What they're fearful of is what is in their subconscious. Just because you turn off the lights doesn't mean you start screaming. Many of you have heard, even in movies, or you may, hopefully you're not, but you may have been with people who just because the lights may turn off, they just start screaming and stuff and everything else. And the reason why they're screaming again is because of the darkness that is within their subconscious. If there's no darkness within your subconscious, you're not going to scream or be fearful just because it's dark. And if one does not have darkness within the subconscious, if one does not have a loose generating pestilence machine in their subconscious, then that means one at least is on a certain path of being their own light. That's why, for example, there are stories that can be told about the tunnels underneath our surface. Some of you like tunnels underneath the surface. Yes, tunnels underneath our feet. Literally. Where all types of darkness takes place and what you may call demons reside. And so you have beings here who like to tell stories here on YouTube and everything else who are really just loose generators, putting forth subversive thought forms and not properly explaining or properly showing what is actually taking place around us, right? Like the tunnels underneath us, right? Where if you were dropped down in those tunnels, are you able, Dr. Blaze used to talk about this, right? About when you become a being of a certain magnitude, your light, your internal light is what would guide you in the darkness, right? So, because down there in those tunnels, for example, where demons dwell and humans are being farmed literally, the only light you're going to see is the light that comes from you. These are the type of darkness and tunnels where the smell itself, the ancient and putrid smell itself, if a person was instantly dropped there, would instantly make them defecate and urinate on themselves, would instantly make them their knees buckle. And I'm just talking about the smell. Okay? You have to be a certain being of light to be able to traverse tunnels like that. Not even talking about engaging with the entities that are down there. So that's why when I hear people talking about certain aspects of the spiritual realm and certain aspects of they're just tough and everything else, I just say, hey, why don't you focus on those things that are in front of you instead of going way down the road, because they may put you in a realm or a space that you're not prepared for. Not saying you never will be, but just right now. So let's talk about going back to fear. Hopefully you all are enjoying these stories. If you all are enjoying these stories right now that are taking place, type 1 in the chat room. Okay, type 1 in the chat room, on YouTube that is, if you are enjoying these stories right now. But the last story that I'm about to talk about, it deals with fear, but not from what I just stated about the, I'm looking at some other things too as well, but not when I'm talking about concerning the scary, the Halloween, well, house, whatever, the haunted house. But this is about a young lady that I know who has an extreme ability to be able to manifest, literally. But I'm going to tell you how her fear stopped her from manifesting what she actually has the ability to manifest, literally. So this young lady, when I came across her on my path, what was very interesting, of course, I come across many beings of light, many beings who have extraordinary abilities. I'm talking about this is not hocus pocus, this is not, you have to believe. They could do it right in front of you 100 times in a row if they choose to, right? So this being who's encapsulated in female form, she had the ability to manifest anything she wants financially, literally. So what I mean by that is like this. She could, let's say for example, she needs $500, okay? Right now, as we speak, she would go get a scratch out and she would win the $500. I'm not just talking about once. I'm not even talking about even 5 times. I'm talking about hundreds of times. Okay? It's quite out the box. Now, some of you would say, well, then shouldn't she be like a millionaire? Shouldn't she be living it up and everything else? Well, you would think so. You would think that she would be living a life of ease, a life of maybe even luxury. But it's actually the complete opposite. And the reason why is because of fear. Let me explain. This person is very family oriented. And so she had talked about in her manifesting how if she just manifests enough, how she wants to, again, this is like a fantasy in the mind, how she would move somewhere else far away, right? That is, whether it be better weather or whatever, not to escape anything, but just like a place that's better weather, she could live a life of just kind of like that luxurious island kind of life, like, okay? But then what happens is that, and this is what happened during these are consultations that eventually took place, okay? That she did not actually want to leave certain people in her family, because certain people in her family either would not go with her or could not go with her. So, and she really cared for these members of her family, so to the point where, it was a very strong tie, and I do see you all in the chat room. There's quite a few ones in the chat room. That's what's up. So what happened was that it came to a point where she was so fearful of manifesting, because she knows if she manifests, she has the money that would be able to take her to another plane of existence. She didn't fear that the money of manifesting. She feared the fact that if she did manifest, she knows that those loved ones that she's a very family oriented person. Okay, some of you might not care. You might be like, I'm gone, but some people are just not like that. Okay, so because she's so family oriented, she knows that would absolutely break her heart for those people not to come with her. So because of this, she only manifests exactly what she needs and nothing more. Even to this day, she manifests what she needs and nothing more because of that fear. Okay? Fear is not something that a human should actually have within them. Now, some will say a good dose of fear keeps you like, it goes into all this religious nonsense. Okay, of fearing this entity, or fearing that entity, or fearing this entity over here, or fearing that entity behind us. Why do they want humans to have this instilled fear for so long? Because if you did not have this fear, maybe then you would travel to different spaces. Maybe then you would create forms of technology that will free humanity. Maybe those entities that are farming this planet or this realm for loosh, maybe you would take the battle to them directly if you didn't have this fear. So fear is a major manifestation stopping ability. More than anything else, of the different aspects of potential topics and questions and comments that may arise in time as we have this Manifestation Wednesdays podcast, is that I would like all of you to work on releasing fear. Releasing fear. And walking as though you know. See, that's the difference though. Now, this conversation is public, but there are levels to energetic awareness. And a person who is at a level 1 is not going to have the awareness and understanding of what I'm saying as a person who may be a level 4 or a person who may be a level 8. There's nothing wrong with being, let's say, a level 1 or a level 2. We all grow in our existence. But for a level 1 person, they may come from the aspect of belief, and it has nothing to do with belief. It has nothing to do with faith at all. You walk as though you know. To give you an example of walking as though you know, right now you wanted some water, or you wanted to refill your beverage of choice, right? And I think in a moment here, I'm going to need a refill of my beverage. So, let's say you have to walk to your refrigerator to get your beverage so you can refill it. And you know that's what you're going to do. When you walk to your refrigerator, are you thinking about, oh man, it's going to be an earthquake that's not going to allow me to walk there? Or, man, the roof of my house is it's going to open up and a God is going to come down and take me and so I won't be able to get my beverage. No, you're not thinking of any of that craziness. Okay, what about you try to go get your beverage and an actual wolf comes through your window and attacks you, so now you can't get your beverage. Of course not. This is what I'm saying will sound like insanity, right? Why? Because you know you're going to get your beverage. It's nothing to have belief in. It's nothing to have faith in. You're walking as though you know. But that's something that has to be felt. You cannot believe it, right? You cannot have faith in that. It's something that you just are, and you walk as though you know. So, first step, for those who may be harboring fear, first you have to be honest with yourself if you are harboring fear. And if you are harboring fear, because again, fear is one of the I want to say best, because it's not people may hear best, they think of a good thing, but it's one of the most powerful manifestation breaking emotions, which is fear. Okay? So you want to first okay, so Kenya, you finally joined us. Okay, I was looking for you earlier. All right, I'm glad you finally joined us, but don't unmute your phone yet. So again, So what I would like you to do is if you hold on to fear, you have to be honest with yourself. If you do hold on to fear, what I would like you to do is to first ask yourself, why are you fearing this thing that you do? Literally. So if you write down on a piece of paper, like this scariness that you feel, right? Now, a lot of times people feel fear and scariness because they're doing wrong. Again, a lot of times people fear fear in this scary kind of internally because they're doing wrong. Their thought forms are wrong. They have allowed the pestilence to invade them. And so, like, for example, I would not be surprised on social media about a week ago. It was a bunch of people at a family restaurant. Okay, a family restaurant where children are there, and they love to do this in front of children for some reason. Okay, I know the reason, but they love to do it for some reason. All these women got on the table and started twerking, and one woman actually arched her back. She was looking super serious. So if you were to see, if I were to do a screenshot of her face, you would say, well, that's not, all the rest of them were laughing. And she was super serious. She literally arched her back with a skirt on, so you could see all of what you will see, that is there on a table at a restaurant, a family restaurant. Okay? So that type of entity, I would not be surprised at all if in their lone time, they always want to be doing something. Either always want to be drinking, always want to be smoking weed, or doing some other drug, always have to be entertained 24/7. Every waking moment they have to be entertained, because if any moment they are not, the fear starts to arise within their being. But again, why? Because they're doing wrong. Because they are in a negative state. Regardless if it's purposeful or not, they are in a negative state. And this hurts the heart. This makes the heart cold or black, okay? And so on and so forth. We actually going to be doing an analysis of that particular footage, because it's absolutely bizarre. But nevertheless, this fear, so a lot of people fear because they're doing wrong, they are thinking wrong, they're operating wrong. They're not operating in a state of love or peace. When I say love, I don't mean, love or peace, okay? They're not operating within that state. So that's just that. So work on that. When you do figure out why you're in fear on a piece of paper, then work on, which we could get into that, and that could be a question some of you may put up in a Manifestation Wednesday. But once you ask yourself why you're fearing, and then you find out what you're fearing, then let's work on eradicating that fear. Okay? So, we do have a few people here in Zoom. And so that's it for me, story time tonight. I'm through. But one of the guests that was supposed to be on the show today showed up. So I do see many of you did put forth some questions and comments in the chat room on Zoom. For those who are in the YouTube audience, if there's any question or comment that you have, type it out. Okay? So because we're getting into that now. But first, we're going to get into our guests that are already scheduled to be on today. So Kenya, can you unmute your phone for me, please? Kenya, can you unmute your phone for me? Okay, one more time. Kenya, can you unmute your phone? Okay, so Kenya, whenever you hear this, I'm not sure if you're there or not, but whenever you do, then you can just unmute your phone, and then we can have our conversation. So in the Zoom chat here, one person said, peace, Tony. Great show. I have a comment. You mentioned the entities feeding on the loosh. I can't help but wonder if there are many entities feeding on humans with addictions and other lower thought forms. Of course there are. Of course. Especially, not even just that. When a person has lower thought forms and addictions, it allows a person to be more easily open to manipulation, easily open to be a generator, or to have subversive thought forms, whether it be mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, injected within their spiritual body. Okay, and that question or that comment was from Antoine, so thank you for that. Let's see here. One person here, Carrie, said, the last callers somewhat addressed my question. Specifically, I find myself getting stuck in my business ventures. It is almost like seasons or patterns that I'm recognizing. Each time I'm stuck, it seems for a good reason. It could be health or family reasons. No matter what, it's in me to keep pushing. However, when meditating on it, it feels like this stuff is happening intentionally. Is this possible? Well, potentially possible. Also, think about this. I want you all to think about like this based on Carrie's question, and good question, Carrie. What humans are currently doing is not necessarily what you are made to be and do. So let me repeat that. What humans are currently doing in this box, in this controlled environment, again, like a farm, okay, like a work mule with all that heavy equipment on, tilling the soil, is not necessarily what you were created to do or be. So it's no need to be upset or to beat yourself up when at times you like, man, I need a break from this stuff. Okay? What tends to happen is that, like, for example, like, let me use myself for example, right? Many of you know I'm in the technology world, right? So I enjoy a whole lot what I do, mainly because I'm doing the foundation thing that I would be doing even if the world was different. So even if you take me back to let's just say to 300 BCE or way into the future, I'm still going to be in some capacity creating and evolving myself in technological progress. Okay, I'm still going to be exploring space and time because those are foundational aspects of my being. So a lot of times when it comes to many of you who may be trying to find that path or the next step in your path, think of what your core being is and try to find something, which we do have some charts on the website that can literally tell you, okay? We do have some on the website, okay, that can literally tell you, literally. And I'm going to bring it up here in a moment just so you all can see it. But what you want to do is try to find out for yourself, if you choose to, or what are those, what is your core or foundational talent, and try to, if you haven't found it already, find the current 2021, August 2021 aspect of it that will fulfill that. Okay? Okay, so I'm going to show you here, you all, and we're going on. Of course, we'll go as long as the show needs to go tonight. I'm about to share on the Metacenter website for those of you who are really questioning, like, okay, I may be doing something that may be worthwhile. I may be doing something that I'm making good money at and I enjoy to a certain extent, but I don't feel fulfilled. Okay, I'm going to show you the chart that there's a few different charts. There's the prosperity chart. Now these charts, you only need one for a lifetime. Most of our charts on the website that I do, you only need one, okay, for this current space and time that you dwell in. So one is the prosperity chart, okay. Another one is called the path of fulfillment, okay, the path of fulfillment, that deals specifically, it concerns your career or vocational path, okay. The path of fulfillment is $149.95, so it's not expensive, and the prosperity chart is $99.95, okay. So we have many other charts on the website too that go around that in different regards, talking about this or that. But for this conversation here, for those who are looking for a career, looking for that thing that will fulfill you, but also it will, because I'm using your astrological data, okay? So using your astrological information based on your birth in this cycle, okay? Pretty much every person so far who has got this, now this is one of the charts that are also in the bundle. Every person who has got this has all said concerning this that, yeah, this is it, as far as they already either are doing it or they have it in their mind that they want to do. In this, I don't know you, okay, and yet I'm able to tell you this, okay. Again, this is only a tool. It's nothing to believe in. It's only a tool, okay. So again, I'm about to show a screenshot here so you all can see exactly what it is. This is the path of fulfillment. And I'm going to do a screenshot showing the prosperity chart on the website. All right. So one moment here. All right. So again, if there's any comments or questions in the YouTube audience, type them out. Or you can call the Zoom chat itself, okay? So here is the prosperity chart, okay? And so as you see there, it says detailed analysis of your astrological sign to bring about the highest levels of prosperity possible within your time and space. And the next chart here is the path of fulfillment. Detailed analysis of your astrological sign, explaining in detail in what areas of life one may find fulfillment concerning career and vocational path. Okay, so there you go, right? Mediciner have been here, you know, we've been here. Okay, so and while these services are available, because many of you know, at times they're available, then at times they're not. Okay, so while they're available, I do suggest, especially in these times, one does take advantage of this. Use the tools, whether it be such as this and others, to empower yourself, okay, and so that you are able to maneuver more efficiently. So with that, let's go back to, let's see here, the audience here. All right, and also, okay, so in the Zoom chat here, Kenya, are you there yet? Kenya, are you there? Kenya, if you are, unmute your phone. Skylar.
Hello.
Oh, there she is. Okay, all right.
Okay, I'm sorry, the baby started crying.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, you got to take care of your motherly duties. Yeah, okay, so for everyone listening, Kenya was one of the 5 people, so we only missing one other who has not been on the show yet, but Kenya was one of the 5 people that was supposed to be on the show tonight, scheduled to be. And so, for the audience's sake, Kenya, what state are you calling from?
Texas.
All right, so thank you for joining us tonight, Kenya. So, what brings you on? What question do you have?
I'm just finding a hard time, like, with my family and everything, because I believe one thing and they believe another, and everybody's pressuring me for my children to get the vaccinations, and I really don't want to get them vaccinated. So And then like I'm on my spiritual path, and I just feel like I have a lot of blockage everywhere, like with my diet, with being consistent, being organized. It's just, I just feel like I'm all over the place.
Okay. So let's start with the basics. Okay, because usually when one says that, the foundation itself is out of whack. Okay, so you are a mother, right? Mother of how many children?
I have 4.
4. Okay, and is the father around?
No.
Okay, that in itself will make a woman all over the place. The reason why is because in having 4 children, now I'm gonna ask you, people who don't know you, okay, but how many fathers?
2.
Okay, and thank you for your honesty. So, okay, even if you had no children, okay, having a woman, taking her out of her natural abilities, it doesn't mean that a woman can't do what men can do, at least in, intellectually, okay, but taking but even if that's the case, some of the things that some of these jobs is very masculine types of jobs and careers, okay, and to do that, a woman would have to take herself out of her feminine state and go into the masculine state to do those things, right? And that's even with no children, and that kind of change like that can make a woman irritable and feel not balanced and end up living a very masculine existence where the feminine aspect of herself, because she is a woman, so she's feminine, right? That feminine aspect of herself tends to not be fulfilled at all, okay, if ever. And that's even with no children. So with 4 children, typically, okay, let's go back into the recent past, okay? In the recent past, a woman who would have as many children as you have, her focus would be family. Okay, her focus would be, and her fulfillment comes from the bringing of life, which you have 4 times, right? And then seeing that life grow and doing her part to help that life prosper. Okay, and then from that point, if she wants to go off and become an astronaut, whatever, she goes on and does that. But the core aspect of having, again, 4 children, that would be her core focus, at least at first. And most would agree with that. Like, yeah, if you have children, especially if you have many children, your focus should be your children, right? But of course, we live in a time where especially if the fathers aren't around, then that leads to you having to now not be in that pure motherly state, okay, which is the ultimate expression of your femininity. So now you have to also be at least partially masculine. Okay? That in itself causes a schism within the spiritual body of a person, of a woman, specifically we're talking about women. So a spiritual body of a woman, it could cause a schism because because of circumstance, you're not allowed to be in your purest state of being. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So now that's from the foundation. So now anything now going above that, if the foundation is rocky, then anything above that now is going to potentially be rocky. Is that understood? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and this leads to a difficult situation. So let's go to let's jump over to just people like pressuring you and stuff like that. So let's talk about like the health and wellness. Okay. Concerning health and wellness, especially because you are an adult. Okay. Let me bring back up your chart here real quick. One moment. I want to see exactly something here. Okay, so you are most definitely a grown woman. You understand what I'm saying? And being a grown woman, see, okay, how this is the difference between men and women as well, right? And these fundamental differences people in masses need to accept and understand is that when it comes to a man and a woman between the two, okay, a woman is much more impressionable than a man is. And this is just the innate how humans are between men and women. That's why when it comes to brainwashing and things of this nature, they tend to always target the women first, okay, not the men, okay, because men's minds tend to be a certain way where women's minds tend to be a bit different, where it's open to certain suggestions and things of that nature that is as much more work to try to get that man to be that way. So, but especially in your case, you are the mother, and unless these people have rulership over you in some form or fashion, then as the mother, just as me as a father, what I say goes. Okay, so just because someone may want something or suggest something, they can suggest all they want to, it doesn't mean that I'm going to do it. Do you understand? So especially if you have your reasons, whatever those reasons may be. Like, for example, let's say I came to you and said, know what, Kenya, you need to do this. And it really, again, I'm not sure how much of this conversation you listened to, but I got into loose generators and stuff like that, which if you have not, then for sure you need to re-listen to this podcast tonight. But in that conversation, for the audience who have been listening, you stop the generation of loose just by at times not engaging with it. So, for example, I'm coming at you, Kenya. I'm saying you need to get the jab now. Period. No, I don't care. You need to get it. You need to wear your mask all day too, even if you got the jab and all this other stuff that we hear the talking points of today, right? And you used to say, no. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And that's it. As grown people, now, the thing about it is humanity has been beat up to the point where people are more so, even people who are grown, are feeling more and more like children in their minds. Not that you are a child, not that I'm calling you listeners a child or anything like that. Is that there's a very aggressive apparatus that wants to take away your literal sovereign being and put you in the place of a child. But even though it may want to do that, it doesn't mean you are that. So again, as an example, I'm coming to you, I'm pressuring you should get something and everything else. And as a grown woman, as they say at times in certain orders, you stand on your square. Okay, you stand firmly. And see, typically that's the role of a man. Okay, so again, that's that whole masculine, feminine. So typically the man would be standing there. And he blocks you and the children, and then you block the children from it. That's how it typically works. Okay, or the village as well. Okay, so with that, this deals with self-fortitude. It depends on how much fortitude you have internally, or how much willpower you have, in which your willpower is stretched out because of having children, the children that you have without the help. So it is a more of a difficult situation. That's why I advocate wholeheartedly for families. Women, you are just not meant to take on burdens like the way you're having. You're not meant for that. And many should not ideally put themselves in that situation like that where they're dealing with that, because it does become very stressed out. You end up stressing yourself out well beyond the years that you are. So the age you are, you will be 10, 20 years more of body stress, because you are not meant to play both of these roles, and so on and so forth. So it's not meant that you try to go out and find a man or anything like that, no. But what it's being said is that it's going to have to be a fine balance. how you start is by focusing on what truly matters to you, whatever that may be. So if I were to ask you, for example, if I were to ask you literally right now, other than your children, of course, what would be the number one concern you have right now in your life?
Finances.
Okay, in which I figured it would be that, because for children, yes, it would, yeah, most definitely. And do you have a plan concerning that, yes or no?
Honestly, no.
Okay. Step one, do you have right now, have you recognized what your innate gift is in life yet?
Yes, I've been working on my numerology. So I like health and spirituality. And I also have an opportunity right now to start a dispatching business with a few truck drivers that I know they want me to dispatch for them. So I'm trying to learn that.
Okay. So let's deal more with things of substance, of foundation, right? And you're talking to a person who is a numerologist, who is an astrologist, to many people, even TV stars and stuff, okay? But still, let's be more, I would even say this to anyone who even, let's be more foundational in the world that we can touch, okay, and feel. Do you understand? So, for
Yeah.
example, one thing that you name with that, for example, is the dispatch. Okay, so the thing about it is so for in the spiritual sense, the physical world that we are in could be looked at as the masculine. Okay, and especially in this specific conversation, to bring a point here, and the more etheric or spiritual world could be the feminine. Okay, in this conversation that we're having here. And so some of the things that you named were more of that etheric. You name astrology or numerology, okay, and certain spiritual things, right? And then there's the more of the physical masculine world, okay, which is you mentioned the dispatch, okay. All those things are okay, but what I would say, especially if it's finances, especially if you want to actually build something, even though thoughts and things start from the mind, it has to be, you want to have something tangible, okay, something that you can actually touch, okay. The things that are purely mind, like numerology, astrology, those types of things, that's cool and dandy, and you're talking to a person who does those things. So that's cool and dandy, but in still, for example, I'm actually a technologist, okay. I'm the one who put together many of the apparatuses for Project Etheric. So these are tangible things in the world. So even though I am in numerology, even though I do astrology and other things that are more spiritual, metaphysical, in the etheric, still, it is here in this plane, it has to be at least tied to something foundational that you can touch and feel that is in the world itself. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. So with that, I would like you to focus more. I could say again, I'm not sure if you were on the prosperity chart, which I'll show again here. The prosperity chart, let me go back here. The prosperity chart, the path of fulfillment chart. They will most definitely just tell you straight up. Okay. But even if that's the case, then again, it would be no thinking about it. It would just tell you like, hey, you were born under your makeup. This is what the path you should be doing, and you will find the most not only fulfillment, personal internal fulfillment, but you'll find that you will be happy doing whatever that may be that has fulfilled you if you do this. Okay, so we do have charts on the website, again, the prosperity chart and the path of fulfillment, that will just tell you. Okay, but for me to tell you something directly here is just that I want you to take the time and get a pen and paper and just think about it. Like, what tangible things could I, and not even things plural, what tangible thing can I do? Do you have family to help you out with the children, or are you primarily doing it alone?
I'm doing everything alone.
Okay, so what you are now, of course, you called the show, of course, and I'm not going to cap, as they say, right? I'm not going to lie to you, and I'm not going to fluff things up, because a lot of people would want things fluffed up for some strange reason, instead of dealing with the reality things are. And of course, and that's the reason why you're on the show, because you want to hear the raw reality of what it is, and so that you could then hear it, ingest it, and then now move on from it, and so forth. It's not going to be easy. The long story short, it's not going to be easy. Even one child would have a bit of difficulty. Okay, 4 children, no help from the fathers, and no family help that you're doing on your own. It's not impossible now. I have known women who have done it, but it just took a lot from them to do it. So, number one, what I would like you to do, even in the things that you do, let's start kind of small, right? Trying to get those little things going. So, when it comes to your day-to-day things you have to do, I would like you to, we all have smartphones and stuff, so I would like you to download some type of task app. Okay, you can even use Google Calendar. Okay, so if you have an Android or even iOS, you can download Google Calendar. And I would like you to, your different tasks you have to do throughout the day, instead of just trying to even just remember them and sometimes forgetting and stuff like that, I would like you to start putting your task in one of these task managers, right? That will give you notifications of things when that time comes that you should be doing this or that. Okay, and that will get you to start being more with even your defined schedule, okay, versus just kind of leaving things to be whatever. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's number one. Number two, I would like you to, again, get a pen and paper and really trying to hone in on, again, I could just, with the charts, I could, just tell you, but this is something, if you're not going to get a chart, it's for you to work on, and you could come up with it yourself. I would like you to...
There is no truth until you decide what truth is, and each person should.
Hit the wrong button here. Okay, so I would like you to start, I would like you to hone in on what your innate, I want to call it ability, but what your strengths are. And I want you to write your strengths down. Okay, not some hocus pocus stuff now. I don't want you to go way out into the fantasy world. Okay? You have to bring it. If you find yourself writing things down that is way kind of out there, you got to bring yourself, remember me say to you, bring yourself back to the tangible. You got to deal with the earth. Okay, this is an earth-based thing that we're talking about here. Earth and fire. Okay? Not air and water. Okay, airs of the mind, water flows, and that's more the subconscious. We're dealing with the earth, which is tangible, and fire, which can bring those tangible things to be. So I would like you to think about those tangible things about yourself that you actually have the ability to do. Are you organized at all? Even in your circumstance, what can you even do? Because with 4 children, you might not be able to maneuver as much. So for example, if you can't actually go out and get a gig, or start working a path because you have to currently be at home, then okay, that's fine. But now you know for a fact, okay, that limits you to what you can do in the house versus what you can do out the house. So there's no point in you saying, well, I'll be a plumber, even though plumbers can make good money and everything else. But right now you can't be a plumber because right now you don't have the ability to travel like that right now, right? So you want to be realistic with yourself as well. And the quicker you can be realistic with yourself, the quicker that you can write down what your strengths are, quicker you can even write down what you, if anything, you don't mind doing, which you can say, I'm open to anything. Okay, well, this is that. Then the quicker that you can start seeing and visualizing, okay, now this is the time you're supposed to use your etheric ability, visualizing what you may actually want or have or even can do. Okay, so it's not going to be, again, I'm telling you this already, hopefully it's easy, but I'm telling you that in most cases for most, it's not easy. For whatever reason, you wanted to put yourself, you wanted to make we playing a video game. You started off first time playing it. You put the difficulty on hard for whatever reason. Okay, that's something that will take some deep past life regression and things like that to see why you wanted to have life on hard when you didn't have to. So, step one, again, get a piece of paper, write down what your strengths are. Step two, focus that into something that you can do at home. Because obviously, if you cannot go out and do things out and about, which I probably can't, you know what I'm saying? So, three, when you bring that down to a list of things that you can actually do in the house, then you need to start working those different avenues. It's going to take some time, but if you put forth the effort and you're willing to do it, you can build something up. Okay? Even if it's something, for example, let me throw some things out there. For example, if you can have someone help out with the children even for a couple of hours a week, something like that, who knows? You could become I'm just throwing things out there. Maybe a cosmetologist, right? Maybe, again, you mentioned dispatch, but it could be, it's other things that also do that, very similar things as well. I don't want to give them all out here because just in case you reach out, stuff like that. But the path of fulfillment will give a lot of it, but still, I'm trying to think of something else that in these times that would. Look for there are websites like Fiverr, for example. That's FIVERR.com. Okay, so Fiverr, you could put forth services and things. They call it Fiverr because years ago in the beginning, all the services were only $5, right? But it could be whatever price you want it to be, especially if it's something you know how to do specifically, whether it be like you said, dispatch, right? So whether you go in there and say, hey, I will do dispatch for your company or something like that, right? And everything else. You'd be surprised what could come about. So that's one very good idea that I'm sure others here are probably listening to that and say, hey, I'm going to do that. You know what I'm saying? But that's one thing that potentially you could look into, but you need to narrow down what your strengths are so that you have a clearer idea of what you actually can do. Got it?
Yes.
And I want you to meditate on this. So throughout the day, I bet things could be stressful. I want you to take at least 5 minutes a day. And you may only have 5 minutes, right? So 5 minutes a day, and just close your eyes. You don't have to have music on and all stuff. I actually prefer with no music or anything like that. And I just want you to breathe in deeply through your nose to the point where you have a full your lungs are full and your belly is full as well. Then once it goes full, I want you to hold it for literally a second or two, and then I want you to breathe out at the same pace. Okay, so breathe in again, however long that takes. Hold it for a second or two, and then breathe out. Okay, I want you to do that at least 5 minutes a day, every single day, period. It may not seem like a big deal at first. When you do it, it may seem like your mind goes crazy and wants to talk about everything when you do it. That's fine. That's a normal process. Just do it at least 5 minutes every single day, okay? The benefits are astronomical, okay, in time. So that's just that for now, and I wish you well, Kenya.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. So, so we are open lines now. Let's see if the other gentleman has joined us. Did he? No, he did not. Wait, well, is he here? Let's see here. 267. No, he is not. Okay, so we're open lines now. Okay, we're open lines. So if you have any comments you would like to make or any questions that you have on the YouTube side, you can type them out if that's the case. If there's any questions or comments that you have, type it out and I will read them off. Also, and then I'll come back here to the Zoom side. So first I'm reading here. Let's see here. One person, Mr. Blob 108 said, "Great show today. I had an experience recently where I was in a peaceful state and a random entity tried to confront me. At the time, I was slightly confused, but now it makes sense." I'm glad it makes sense, and thank you for joining in this conversation today. All right, so Chuck on the YouTube side said, "Tony, there are definitely levels. As I began knowing, I started losing fear." Mr. Blob 108 says, "Can you manifest weather?" Yes, we actually did it on this podcast. This very podcast, not Manifestation Wednesdays, but Metaphysics Speaks. We did it about 2.5 years ago on a public podcast. We looked at Georgia, and Georgia at the time was having a drought. And so with all the light beings that listened to this show, we this was on the spot, and it was random, and the reason why I brought it up was to show the power of actual concentrated thought. And it really helped out that because I knew the type of entities, and I say entities, okay, not necessarily humans. I know the type of entities that listen to the show and that are part of this journey with us, no matter what space and time they dwell in. And so what ended up happening is that we wanted Georgia to get rain, and they end up getting not only rain, they end up having floods. Okay, literally it started raining late that night. Then the next day it rained all day. The next day from that point, so the second day it rained all day. The third day it rained all day. You couldn't make this up. And many of you who are listening now participated in that experience. And so yes, you can manifest weather, you can change weather, you can manifest anything you want to manifest, literally. Can I even change time? If you're strong enough, yes. But you probably would need beings of a different nature to join in with you to sing that song. So Ebony said in the YouTube side, "Do Dracons or Archons bother us on the other side of time?" Not necessarily. They're here. The reason why they don't want us to transcend to a higher space, because that means you'll be above them. So they're trying to do everything they can to lock humanity down. At this point, they're doing a really good job. The New Age movement is mostly their stuff. Okay, hear me again. The New Age movement is mostly a draconian and archon creation. It's not natural at all. Okay, be warned. Stay woke. Okay. So.
For the night is dark and full of terrors.
All right, so let's continue on here. Okay. Okay, so now let's get into the Zoom. So now I'm back on the Zoom side now. Again, if you have any question or comments, you can say it in the chat room. What I'm going to do is here, I'm going to post the Zoom link again for those who may be on the YouTube side, who may want to join in. So I'm about to post it here again for you all. Just bear with me, and then I'm going to get to you all now in the Zoom side. So just bear with me here to copy and paste this back again for the YouTube audience. All right. Okay. All right, one more here. I have to copy and paste. Okay, so now we're going to the Zoom side. So I'm going to go through the list here, And if you just have something to say, you can unmute your phone. I speak your number or name. So, last four of the number 0781. Do you have any question or comment? If you do, unmute your phone. 0781. Do you have any question or comment? If you do, unmute your phone.
Good day, Tony.
Good day. Mm-hmm.
My name is Ebony. I'm calling from Minnesota, and you pretty much covered everything that I wanted to ask through the website on Manifestation Wednesdays in regards to why is everything so hard. Like, for instance, before my daughter and I moved to our home we live in now, it's been 3 years. I would give a cashier's check for $2,800 for an apartment that I thought I wanted in a neighborhood that I thought I wanted. And they'd give it to the next person until they tried to charge me so much money for so little space. And then same thing with jobs. I just completed a peer support training training class, and I went to apply for places where I knew would hire me the most, and it seems like it was given to the next person. And just real quick, I remember Dr. Blair saying from a video years ago that when you can't be bothered any other way, that then they'll try to give you bills. And let's say for
There is
instance,
no truth until you
I had
decide
satellite
what
for,
truth is. Each
let's say,
person
I spent
find that
extra
truth
on a
out for his or
$69
herself.
package, which isn't much to some people, but I don't like television that much. So for me, that was a lot. And they sent me a bill
Global
for
family, look in the mirror.
$259
I want you to
every
take
month
a good look.
for a few months
You
until
are
I
the
told
champion,
them
the hero
that
of
I
your
wasn't going
story.
to have it.
No matter how much praise you may give some of us who may help you on this journey, it is you who has to walk it. We are only a catalyst to
I want to
help
know
you see.
if it'll ever get easier for some, like for me, I am pretty much a loner, but it's in a good way. I never really felt alone. I just don't know what to do I know you cannot control other people.
There is no truth until you decide what truth is.
I have the most struggle with people from Africa that live around me. The things they say, oh, you don't have a country, you work minimum wage job, you don't have any degrees. I don't know who tells anybody this, but I don't even engage in the back and forth when it comes to stuff like that. But I just noticed a lot of things that when I'm going in my odd times and my odd hours and doing my regular things, that there's just a lot of contention, just for no reason. And I feel something's trying to make me into something that I'm not. And I cannot be that. And that's all.
Okay. I'm going to mute you, and I'm going to say a few words. So first, thank you for sharing. And I will just say that it's kind of interesting the way the world is, right? Because the way the world is not, it's a very unnatural state, all right? And so there are humans, human hybrids. Wait, let me go back. There are animals, animal hybrids.
There is no truth until you decide what truth is. Each person should find that truth out for his or herself.
Okay. And there are many humans that are actual. See, just because a person has 2 arms, 2 legs, and everything else, this kind of goes on a tangent. My mind is somewhere else, right? On a tangent based on what you said.
Family, look in the mirror. I want you to take a good look.
A podcast or something.
You are the champion,
the long story
the hero
short is that there's
of your story. No matter how much praise you may give some of us who may help you on this journey, it is you who has to walk it. We are only a
I will do
catalyst
some
to help you
self-reflection
see.
on what that could be. That's something for you to self-discover. But I will do some self-reflection. So a lot of
Again, I give you accolades for,
I want to call it troubles,
I don't even know what to say, for all the efforts, man, that you put in my
adverse changes
behalf.
that are happening around us are not necessarily because
There is no
of, let's
truth
say, your
until
own
you
fault or anyone's
decide
own
what
fault
truth is.
necessarily. Okay.
It is you who has to walk it. We are only a catalyst to help you see.
Okay, it should be right side up.
Person should find that truth out for his or herself.
Majority of the people that I talk to should be in some type of, they may say they're loners and everything else, they prefer to be alone, but they're not operating at a high state alone. They need help. Okay, they need a structure around them. They need family, they need friends, what we call friends, which are really family as well. Okay, these are different terms to disengage and to divide, and these are terms created by the nefarious ones. Okay, so, but pretty much a community. Majority of people, there's actually a number there are people who are, they call introverts and extroverts. Yes. Okay. Again, these are more newy agey terms and everything else. There are always been those people who are more introspective and those people who are more do things externally. And even though this is the case, the type of
There is no truth until you decide what truth is. Each person should find that truth out for his or
I
herself.
have seen, and I've done thousands of consultations, they're actually causing themselves issue because they should not be as alone as they are.
You know what? Global family, look in the mirror.
But ideally,
I want you to take a good look.
Their hut,
You are the champion, the hero of your story. No matter how much praise you may give some of us who may help you on this journey, it is you who has to walk it. We are only a catalyst to help you see.
They feel a little bit a certain way, they will go back in again. But again, that wouldn't even necessarily happen because if you're really in your community made up of people who are like you, who understand you because
for all the efforts, man, that you put in my behalf,
then that will actually empower you. That will actually
There is no truth until you decide what truth is.
the drain that people feel.
It is you who has to walk it. We are only a catalyst to help you see.
Society is because the society is not a society.
Person should find that truth out for his or herself.
Natural to their state. Their natural state. You understand what I'm saying? So this is for anyone listening, okay? That's the reason why you want to disengage with society, because it's not a society that is literally fulfilling its end of the obligation. Most people, we talk about ascended masters, let's say those are level 10. Let's say level 1 people are beings that just came into the fold. They are new souls here to experience life in the journey of life, okay? So you got 1 through 10. It's not a bad thing no matter what level you're on. Okay, the problem is you got 2s and 3s and 4s taking advantage of those who are beneath them. They tend to hate people like me because I see their nonsense because I'm well above them. Okay, so in saying all of that, what I'm saying is that the society is not fulfilling. Oh, okay. Okay, someone said that
There is no truth until you decide what truth is. Each person should find that truth out for his or herself.
Okay, that should be better now. Thank you for letting me know, everyone. Hopefully you heard at least the majority of what I was saying. It kind of went into it and shouldn't have done that. That was very strange. I guess what I was saying was a bit too powerful and it had to be a glitch. Okay, it should be fine now. It should be fine. Okay, so with that, going back to it here, is that the way society is not, there's an obligation when we're born here. Let me tell you ideally how it's supposed to be. Okay, when you come into this world as a being who is fresh off the presses, right? So because your mind is a certain way, it's very malleable, and you have no idea what's happening one way or the next. Okay, so when you come here, you're coming here, and there should be mechanisms around to help guide you to those next steps in time. So as you come through, it doesn't mean, for example, that you come into the life and you go from 0, or let's say 1 all the way to 10 in one lifetime. No, only a very small segment of the people that would happen to. I'm talking about extremely small, like let's say 1% of the entire population that would happen with. But you would come in, and in that lifetime, for example, if you come in with the energetic level 1, you may need complete structure around you. You may need to go to, let's say, Sunday services, but it's happening Monday through Sunday, okay, to reinforce and to give you what you need every single day, weekly, monthly, yearly, like that, for most of your life. And then when you're not there, you're doing other things to reinforce this spiritual state for the next step of the journey. Okay, people saying they can't hear in the YouTube. One second here. So let me make sure everyone's able to hear here. Oh wow, that's very strange. Okay, so some type of glitch is happening on the YouTube side supposedly. Let's see something here. So let me make sure something before I keep going here.
Until you decide what truth is, each person should.
Oh wow, that's very strange. Okay. So wow. So this is the thing, everyone. Okay, so it seems that the YouTube is about, like I have my YouTube up as well, and it seems that it's about 15 or 20 minutes behind where I'm actually at here on Zoom. So what I'm going to do, for those who are listening, I'm going to end up having the Zoom audio, because the Zoom audio is being recorded as well, and it's clear. It's going to be uploaded later as well. Okay, everyone, let's see here. Okay, so everyone who's listening, again, some weird glitch happened, and it seems like YouTube is about 10 to 15 minutes behind what is happening, but this audio on Zoom is totally clear, so it will be uploaded, so you don't have to worry, you'll be able to hear everything, so no worries. So going back to it here, and thank you for your patience, everyone. So when it comes down to it, in short, again, society would take that person naturally, almost like a child in the mother's or father's arm together, walking it slowly up the steps, right? And that's how society is supposed to be. Society is supposed to be self-generating as well. So you come here, you are filled, like your cup is filled, and then when you leave here filled, okay, to potentially return again. A lot of people, in experiencing this current life as it is, they are sick of it, right? They're like, oh, this place is so terrible and everything else. No, it's not. It could be whatever you want it to be. Don't let the muwa, okay, that's M-U-W-A, don't let the muwa, or those filled with the pestilence, or those doing the work on behalf of their masters, the draconians and arconians, don't let them taint the well, okay? So don't let them taint the well. The water is actually pure. Don't let their behavior and their actions make you think that this place is a horrible place. It's actually not at all. It's a beautiful place. Okay, it could be literally anything you want it to be. It's very magical, in fact. Thoughts are things. And the fact that they can, for those who actually see these things with their own eyes, who have literally seen how a thought can become a thing, literally, and have seen even slight manifestations within their space and time, that in itself shows that this place is magical. It can be changed at least a little bit one way or the next. So don't let the foolishness of these parasites make you reject the humanity that is within you. Okay? All right, so the next question here in Zoom. Skylar said, when people have lower thought forms or in a state of fear, do you think this is because of sleep paralysis? Sleep paralysis doesn't necessarily have to do with fear or lower thought forms. So, for those who are listening, okay, I'm actually listening to the YouTube as well on my end just to make sure everything's still fine over there. But so again, sleep paralysis does not necessarily have to do with fear or anything like that. I remember Dr. Blair saying it can be simply when you're in between the dream and awake state. Now, for some people, that may cause them fear, and they may be fearful, which is a common thing with people in sleep paralysis, but it doesn't mean that it's them doing it. It's sleep paralysis doing it. It's just their internal state because of what's happening. Let's see here. Carrie said that's a very good point about women, something to highly consider. Carrie also asks, can you speak to entities that come for you during the night? I've always believed that, but had surreal experience last week. This is probably the only environment that would believe it. I woke up with bruises with proof. I took pics. It's kind of crazy. Listen to Dr. Blair is what helped me not be afraid, just in case. Okay, so there's all types of entities around us that sometimes, even in our own dreams, can cause us to, like, for example, in your dream, you may be an entity and you're fighting it and you end up literally punching yourself. But were you really fighting the entity? I would say you really were, okay? But in short, this place is a magical place and all types of things happen around us. Those types of entities, that's why when I mention women, think about this. This is a grown conversation, okay? Most everybody here are grown. Is that the women are receivers, right? Men are projectors. Do you understand? All right. So women are receivers, men are projectors. That is also energetically. Okay. Energetically, women are receivers in majorly. And energetically, men are more projectors energetically. Okay. So with that, that's why it's very important for a woman to protect herself. It's very important for a woman not to be involved with all this nonsense that is taking place around us, okay? Because the hive mind, that's H-I-V-E, hive mind is absolutely real, okay? It is a hive mind that takes place. That's why you see almost group psychosis, this major groupthink. We know groupthink is real, and we know that it happens more of one gender over another. And this groupthink can cause states of possession, especially with women. And so that is important why women, especially if you have a light within you, to be guarded by your men and guarded by your village or community, aka family, and so forth. Okay, so that that protects you from these entities. That only thing they want to do is defile you. Okay, words mean something. For example, okay, people like to try to, especially in the new age today, they like to mix and match words. Like one word does not mean what it means, and so on and so forth. So, for example, like the word sacred. Okay, So, for example, the word sacred has always been linked to, like, specifically with a woman in this sense, has always been sacred to a woman who is, for example, a virgin, who is one who is kept, okay? One who has not defiled herself. But then the muwa come in and talk about sacred prostitution and the sacred whores of Babylon and all types of other nonsense. You know what I'm saying? Trying to flip the script and call something that is defiled, which has never been sacred, trying to call it sacred. And these types, you see them all over the place, especially. Keep your eyes open. Stay woke, everyone. Stay woke, okay? That you see them all over social media trying to convince, especially the youth, that they should defile themselves. Okay? And we actually here in the Meta Center, we actually take clips and we keep clips of all this stuff. When we see certain, especially grown YouTubers saying these thoughts that go against literally the sanctity of a woman, we keep these clips permanently. So we can show these in the classes that we have and stuff like that. So you can see with your own eyes what is taking place around us, and to see the nature and how far these hosts who have these negative entities embedded within them, how far they're willing to go to try to defile your essence. Okay? Because it's just that important for them to try to do that. And that's why there are, of course, programs like this that are purposely pushing the opposite. And we have a lot of light beings on the side over here. We have some giants over here, okay? We have angels. We even have some that could be considered godlike, okay? And we have those of the celestial court. We have some from the major houses. We have some from the minor houses. We have some heavy hitters over here that are pushing forward these positive thought forms because we're pretty much tired of it. All right? So stay woke. And thank you for the question, Carrie. All right, so let's go here. In the chat, well, in the Zoom chat, 5229, do you have a comment or question? And next will be Corey, if you have a comment or question. So 5229, do you have a comment or question? Okay, one more time, 5229. You can unmute yourself. You have a comment or question. If not, I'm going to the next person.
Hello, Tony.
Yep, I'm here.
5229.
Yep, greetings.
It's your brother James.
What?
James
What?
Farrell, man.
What?
How you doing, man?
There he is. How you feeling, brother?
I miss you, big bro. How you been, man?
I've been okay. About yourself? For those who don't know,
I'm doing all right.
Excellent. For those audience who don't know, this is a long-time Meta Center member and everything else, way back, probably even before I was around, with Dr. Dilbert Blair, and him and I look similar, and so we used to laugh about that. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's a pleasure to hear your voice, brother.
Yeah, it's pleasure to be heard, and pleasure to talk to you, man. It's been a long time since the old days and with Dr. Blair at the Meta Center over there in Oak Lawn, but I'm doing well. I just wanted to say it's good to hear your voice, good to hear the family, and I hope everyone's spirit is up. And that's all. I didn't really want anything. I just wanted to say hi to everybody. So I ain't been around in a long time.
Well, appreciate that, brother. I'm sure those of who because there are some listeners here who are used to come to the center as well. So I'm sure they enjoy that you chimed in.
Oh yeah. I appreciate it, man. Hello, everybody. Stay well.
Likewise, brother. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.
And how can this be? For he is the Kwisatz Haderach.
All right. that's just for you, brother. That's just for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
All right. So, excellent. So for those again who did not know, that's Brother James there. Phenomenal brother. He used to come out to to the Grand Master's place in Oak Lawn years ago. for many years. And him and I, again, look similar and stuff, and we used to always laugh about that while eating the vegetarian meals that used to be prepared during one of Dr. Blair's Saturday lectures. Okay, so you brought me back a little bit, brother, with that. So, most definitely, so you all see for yourselves, there are people here from all across space and time who still join in and share in on this experience. So with that, Corey, up next. So Corey, do you have any comments or questions, Corey?
No comment, no question. How you doing, Tony?
I'm very well. How you feeling, brother?
I'm good. I'm good. I just jumped over because the YouTube was acting funny, so I jumped over to the Zoom just so I can hear.
Okay, that's what's up. I appreciate your always continued being here in the spirit.
Yes, sir. Always.
All right. So, okay, next one here we have Aswar. Aswar. Okay, it's your turn here. Do you have any comment or question?
Oh, no, I'm all good. I was same as Corey. I just came here from the YouTube. I was Mr. Blob, but he answered my one question. So yeah, I really enjoyed today. Thanks.
I really enjoyed the fact that you're here as well. I'm seeing you more and more. So hope all is well within your space and time.
Yeah, thanks.
Excellent. Okay, so all right. Next one here. Okay, Carrie, do you have anything you want to say verbally, or was those questions that you put in the chat room enough?
Just thank you very much, and I appreciate it. And you answered all my questions, and all the guests and everything that is coming out is making me think, and which is always a great thing when you're provoked to thinking when you're in the right environment. So greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you as well, Carrie, for your attendance here. So next one here will be Skylar. One moment here, Skylar. All right. Okay, so, okay, Skylar, your turn. Do you have any, I know you've been typing out in the chat room, but do you have any verbal comments or questions that you would like to talk about at this time?
No, I'm all set, brother. Just soaking everything in.
Okay, excellent. It's good to see your presence.
Always.
All right. So, so again, to recap, everyone, the Zoom, because it's quite interesting. Everybody in Zoom got the full load of what was being said. So I'm going to post maybe a Zoom, audio only one on the website, something like that. You all will see it in some form. Okay, it may even be on YouTube, whatever, but you all will see it, so you all could go get those parts that you may have for that 10 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever it was, that was a little louder because it was a glitch in the system. You can get that because there was some pertinent information that was said at that time. All right, so it will be uploaded sometime later. Okay, so last call, everyone. Last call for any comments or questions, either in the Zoom or in the YouTube chat. So in the YouTube chat, if you have any comments or questions, it's time to type them out now, or we're going to be ending the show momentarily. The thing about it is, let me say this while people are thinking of anything last minute to say. The reason why many of you may feel drained, right? Even if you're living your purpose, okay, you may feel a bit tired at times, a little more tired than it makes your eyebrow go up, where you say, am I supposed to feel like this tired? No, you're not. Okay, again, this is a loosh farm. Okay, as Dr. Blair used to call this, like a prison planet, a farm, right? And so it doesn't have to be that way. Okay, because you can starve these entities by not giving them loosh. Okay, now it doesn't take everyone. Trying to get everyone to do it it's not a big deal. It just takes some of the more powerful beings and takes them to the next level that they are able to understand and hear, right? To not engage, or just to totally just cut it from the start, totally make it so it's obliterated from the start, right? So it doesn't go past the point where it needs to go. And so, but yes, here humanity is being drained dramatically, and pretty much all across the board, from 1 to 10, everybody feels this drain, okay? And so nothing's forever, but one has to just understand and move forward and push forward, and understand that even more so that your neighbor is not your enemy, okay? There's a greater enemy that humanity has been battling against for quite a while, okay? And it likes to hide within host, but some do know where it resides at, so it is what it is. This is unfortunate that some of the wretched invite this entity in through its various systems, and then put forth those negative thought forms, because it may make them feel like they're, you know, like especially in this age is the age of ego, right? Everybody is a social media star and wants to get in front of the camera and say, hey, look what I could do. I'm going to add that sound effect. Look what I could do, right? They all want to do this, okay? And this only feeds the ego of this entity, right? So anyways, again, any last minute comments or questions? Barbara in the YouTube chat says, how does one protect their energy from those who tend to take access without permission? So you're talking about energetic rape, okay? Say no, literally. And that's in the physical world and in the energetic world. But at the same time of saying no, you can't invite them in. So let me give you an example. Let's talk about it energetically at first. You say, let's say that you feel that you may be attacked or tormented, but one likes to engage in smoking marijuana or drinking alcohol. Well, you're like teasing by doing that. Now, some will argue and say, well, you shouldn't, it shouldn't matter if I tease. Things matter. Everything matters, okay? So if you're teasing, then yes, you may get attacked. And so the same thing, but Ebony made a comment here, even while sleeping, I'm on my best behavior. But were you on your best behavior throughout the day? Just because you're sleeping doesn't mean you're off limits. Okay, this is an all-dairy thing, and even the mind, everything matters. The state of the heart, the state of the mind, the words that you speak, the type of thoughts that you have. Are you already embedded by an entity? If you're embedded by the entity, it's like, for example, if you're embedded by an entity, it's like, for example, having let's say this is a military force, right? And you have literally a squad of the opposing enemy in the heart of your military camp, okay? That's how it is, like with a demon or an entity that's embedded within one. You have this entity that's like literally already on home field. It's there already. It's in the core, right? So you have to eject this entity out of you, which that's a topic for a whole nother podcast. But you need to eject this entity. Otherwise, that entity has home field advantage. It's always going to torment. Also, when it comes to externally, for example, an external example would be, for example, Dave Chappelle did a skit on this, and he was talking about, like, for example, like today, right? We see that a lot of the clothing that's made for the female gender is literally clothing that used to be on streetwalkers a few decades ago. So literally the same clothing and styles of clothing that you see that the female gender, or female is the gender, that women or females or young and old wear around outside in public today was literally the clothes that you would see the literal whores wear on the avenue, literally. And so you have these those same who are wearing this uniform saying the same things. You know what I'm saying? Oh, men are looking at me, in a certain way and everything else. I mean, look what you got on. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you were wearing a, a suit, if you were wearing, it didn't even have to be a suit, but if you were wearing something that didn't have your areola showing, then at least they wouldn't look at you like that. Okay, so that's just an easy example to give. So in short, energy is real. Okay, whether it be spiritually, internally, or physically, externally. So stay woke. Next question here. Judy asks, how can you get energy? You need to clarify that. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Clarity in the YouTube chat asks, what types of activities and beliefs are considered New Age? Just about all of them. Just about any one that you can name. Just about. So let's say the belief in the Aquarian age and anything that deals with that. Okay. There are ages and there are some aspects of it, but the belief that they're pushing forth with this, that's all New Age stuff. Okay. So which in the event that will be in the future, in the near future, we're going to get deep into certain aspects of that question. Okay. So it's kind of interesting that you actually asked that. But just about everything, clarity. Okay. Anything that takes you out of yourself. Okay. Anything that makes you look at the entity. Okay. In its various forms. Because it has many arms, like Krishna. Okay. Anything that makes you look at it itself or many of its arms is all New Age. All of it. All right, so that looks like that's it, everyone. We had a really interesting show tonight. Many callers, new and old. Shout out to all y'all. And so, let's see here. So one last time, any other comments or questions before we end tonight's show? Any other comments or questions? I forgot to mention that it is a coupon tonight. Coupon is, if I didn't mention in the beginning, is yin yang. Yin yang. Yin yang will give 11% off plus free shipping on any size order. Okay. And you can use that coupon on those services. So some of you have seen the prosperity service and you've seen the path of fulfillment service. You could use that coupon.
It is you who has to walk it. We are only a catalyst to help you see.
A person should find that truth out for his or herself.
To help you see.